Oh, did I not mute my microphone? How embarrassing. I don't think I said anything. I'm hearing most of it. But, oops. Guess I'll have to check this later. Anyways, I'm going on mute because I have to do one last final thing. Sorry. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to our ongoing charity campaign to raise money for medical aid for Palestinians by playing through all 256 games inside of the itch.io bundle game Gaza, which is no longer available for purchase, but you can buy any of the games individually by following that link. Um, we've got some great solo games lined up today. Um, we Yeah, a lot of people are going to be busy this week, so we'll see how many of the group ones we can look at. I've got a couple I can look at, but we'll see. If not, I mean, there's plenty of solo experiences that we can look at too. So, here's the rules as always. Each game gets roughly about 30 minutes of playtime. Every $5 donated during that game extends the playtime by 30 minutes up to a maximum of 2 hours. And beyond that, we'll just basically keep moving through the pack. At this rate, I don't I'm not even sure that I'll get through like 100 of the games. Well, maybe that's not being fair. I feel like at the end of November, I'm probably going to have gotten through maybe about half the pack, about 208 games. Not 200, sorry, 118 games. No, sorry. Let me rephrase that. 128. Yes, that's how math works. Um, and then I think my thoughts is we will just like when November is over, we'll resume our regular stream schedule stuff, but what we'll do is we'll probably dedicate like 1 day a week to looking at the rest of the games. Because I did say that I was going to do it. I definitely think I did the calculations in my head of like how many games it would take if you gave them all 30 minutes. But even that wasn't really, it was like 128 hours, right? Which is a lot. And that's assuming like no extensions, no accidentally going over or anything like that. And I'm definitely realizing like that was naive. Which happens. But I'm definitely still interested in going through all of the games because I do think that they are interesting. Um, and I do want to see like what they do with them. But also it is making me realize like for one person to go through all of these games, it's going to take more than a month. And so yeah. Um so we will be getting back to regular stuff like our Armored Core playthrough, our Paper Mario playthrough. The last bit of The Walking Dead, we still have to do that. Bloodborne. So those games aren't going anywhere. And they'll be back probably in December. I'm thinking, yeah, I think we'll probably get back to at least a couple days a week of like going through those games because I do miss them. Um, and I hate to leave things um unfinished if like I don't outright drop something, which is like why I never finished Tales of Vesperia. Sorry, just messing with my phone stand there. I never finished Tales of Vesperia. I dropped Outer Wilds because I just really feel like I wasn't doing it very good, like much justice on stream, and I think that's maybe something a game that I would like to just go through on my own time. Um, but yeah, like I really don't like leaving games unfinished like that because I'm very used to doing it. Um, like if I don't commit to finishing, like writing down and scheduling a game and like finishing it, um, I will all the time just go through and like drop a game. Not because I didn't like it. So maybe drop is not the right word, but like just kind of forget about it and then go on to a different game, which is not ideal. But that's the wonders of my brain, I suppose. So, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get on to our first game of the night, which is titled Gun Cowboy. So what is Gun Cowboy about? Well, let me tell you as soon as I pop up the music. Back to Hololive Jazz. Is jazz very fitting for Gun Cowboy? I don't know. But it's what I've got. So Gun Cowboy. You are alone. You weren't always alone. You are doing coin tricks in the rain. This is a solo journaling game about dead outlaws. They might not know they're dead yet, but they are. They will burn themselves up until only the bones remain. This game uses a standard deck of 54 playing cards, jokers included, as an oracle deck to generate prompts. The game uses a single coin to resolve moments of risk. The game uses a journal and pen, or a keyboard and a word processor, or any other way to write down and reflect on what has happened. This game uses you and is played solitaire. This game is written by Che. This game was inspired by too many things to count, but I have a great fondness for the book Blood Meridian, the Red Dead Redemption video game series, and the movie The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. This game is a Western. We should talk about it. A note on genre, myth, and history. It may go without saying that the Western is a loaded genre, but I'll say it again. The Western is a loaded genre. The myth of the American Old West is not just one that carries colonial stereotypes. It is a myth which sprang from and reinforced the process of militarized and settler colonialism which defined and continues to define the American state. From the early, and oftenly explicitly racist, adventure tale to the golden, and oftenly explicit, age of Western film. From the spaghetti Western to the neo-Western to the acid Western, Westerns participate in a mode of myth-making which, even isolated from the particular time and place of the Old West, still builds on the idea which justifies the genocidal establishment of a white national state. Consider The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, a 21st century pillar of the anti-Western subgenre. It's a great movie, and the downfall of an all-American hero in the form of the legendary Jesse James is evocative. Yet we must also know that Jesse, like many of those who fled westward after the end of the Civil War, was a Confederate veteran and ex-guerrilla. This all-American hero, like so many all-American heroes, put his life on the line in military service to protect the institution of chattel slavery. Often, even the most staunchly anti-Western serves as a tool in the laundering of history and the transformation of those responsible for acts of genocide into blank culture myth. Assassination reinforces James' service in a war that never ended, but invites us not to engage in the historical figures so much as the myth which is gathered around him. Yet the common themes of the Western, liberation from the bondage and pursuit of a better future for one's community, remain compelling to us today, and so Westerns are still made, though the history of this kind of utopian thoughts in the US has often been a history of stolen land and of murder. The conflict between oppressive civilization and the free dreaming outlaw, that is to say, the independent settler, has often manifested as just one more proxy war in a long line of two arms of a settler colonial state. This is a game about dead men walking and the cost of a life of violence. This game is, no matter what I do to preface it, participation in the Western myth. This is a game about the ways that the myth destroys. The logic of the Western, pulp or revisionist, spaghetti or acid or Florida or neo, is a logic which does not free itself from the work of cultural empire building and mythic justifications of genocide, without forced, intentional work on the participants in the genre. The task of fighting that empire's symbolic language, which transforms a man with a gun into a god, and violence into the ultimate freedom, falls to the authors, interpreters, editors, and indeed players of new Western media. This may all seem like a long-winded justification for why it's okay for me to write and publish a Western in 2022. That is that, to some degree, but it's also an appeal to you, as a participant in this Western, to engage myth carefully and critically. It is so easy to get caught up in the dream-weaving and lying, the intangible ideas which cover all too material blood. This is a game about a vanished, impossible dream. A dream which was rotten from the start, and which killed itself along with many, many others. In the end, only the dead remain. This game was written on the ancestral land of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute peoples. They were stolen with guns and people and myths. As of this writing, the local government under which this game was written is in the process of drafting a land acknowledgement of their own, which, although it may go without saying, is not the same as a land return. Che, March 10, 2022. Playing the game. You are an outlaw at the end of a long career. Once upon a time, you had a gang, a posse, a crew. You robbed banks and you held up stagecoaches and you ran from the law. That time is over now, and you are alone. Now, you wander. Maybe you were looking for something once, something free from the federals and the Tin Star sheriffs and the judges. Somewhere to put down roots. But you've forgotten how to do that. So you wander and you write down what's been happening in your journal. All you'll need to play is a deck of cards, a journal with some way to write in it, and at least one flippable coin. I'm a fan of silver dollars if you got them, but quarters will suffice. And as always, because I don't like the way coins work in Tabletop Sim, we're just going to use a d4. Heads is odd, and tails is even. So, obviously, it's not like you're losing out on a bit of the symbolism, but that's okay. It's either that or just have the most pathetic-looking coin flips known to man. Alright. As you play Gun Cowboy, you will generate situations, moments, encounters, and strangers on the trail by drawing from a deck of playing cards and consulting the table at the end of this guide. You will plan your escape from these situations using a set of attributes which will change and fluctuate as you play. Then you'll flip some coins to see whether your abilities fail you or not, and write down what's happened in your journal. Begin every journal entry with, "Today something funny happened," or "I've been thinking," or some other such simple opening. And every journal entry on the move again. No matter how much you want to stay, no matter how safe things feel, you'll have to move on. You can't put down roots no more. The deck and the journal. The deck, for the purposes of Gun Cowboy, consists of what is sometimes called a standard set of playing cards. 4 suits of 13 cards plus 2 jokers, 1 black and 1 red. Tabletop Simulator does not have different color jokers, so when we get to the first joker, we'll roll, we'll flip a coin and see if it's the red or black one. Because that is, I checked and that is important for the game. Your journal, for the purposes of Gun Cowboy, consists of whatever you got with you in your saddle pack for writing and thinking on. Loose paper, bound paper, or a keyboard, so long as it lets you reflect for a bit and leave something behind once you're gone. At the start of each journal entry, draw 3 cards and lay them face down in a row. Flip the first card over and read the prompt out loud. This card is the past, that which has happened in a place just before you came riding up on the band. Ask yourself, what has happened here 5 minutes ago? 5 years. Now, flip the second card and consult the prompt. This card is the moment, what is happening right now. This might be the person calling the shots, or it might be what this place looks like currently, or it might be a spiritual moment which you come upon internally. Flip the third card and consult. This is the dilemma, the problem or choice facing those present in the moment, which you may help to resolve or exacerbate. Read these cards as broadly or as narrowly as you'd like. Read these cards like you'd read the tarot. If you don't like a card, draw another. Allow the past to draw you in. Allow the moment to engage you. Allow the dilemma to matter. Let yourself feel things for folks and places as you cross their paths and rest at their edges. Then leave them behind. Once upon a time you may have stayed here, settled down with a love and a land and a life. No longer. Using one of your 4 attributes, move on. Hello, Lumi. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Much love to the Liam. Hope you have had a great time packing up as you get ready to house seat. Definitely going to take a second here to shout out Lumi. Lovely Luminously, the hot lady knight, who plays a lot of games similar to me. She said this first, but I'm going to say it back. If you like the games that I play, and you like my typical way of reacting to them, which is like when I'm not screaming, definitely give Lumi a follow. How's the read-through of Gun Cowboy? It's going pretty good. We've basically just started. I'm reading the rules, and then we'll start the journaling process. The attributes. You have 4 attributes. They are good, stand tall, stay true, act with valor, quick, witted, footed, odd, be smart, sharp, cool. Ugly, labor, scar over, callous, work, impose, let your body take the blow, and gun. Gun is used to do violence and to kill. You had a gun once. It was oiled and clean and took bullets and lives, but now it is at the bottom of the river or buried deep among your meager possessions or pawned to buy you dinner in a town some miles back. Each of your attributes begins with a value of 3, except for gun. Gun always starts at 0. Alright, so let's... No, I do not want to delete rules. Safely moved in and the house does not seem haunted so far? Wonderful. I was joking around with Lumi because she did one stream before going and it was Phasmophobia, and I was like, oh, how fitting that you're doing a game about going into haunted houses before going off to look over someone's house. But good to know it is not haunted. I hope it stays that way. Definitely if you find any creepy dolls though, maybe start running. When things are in motion and you must escape a situation, determine your course of action first. Only once the plan is clear in your mind should you ask yourself which of your 3 attributes, or gun, best characterizes your action. Increase this attribute and decrease all others by 1. When you were young, you were complex, but with age, you've grown simple. I'll update you if anything spooky happens. Wonderful. Do not reduce gun. Gun will never decrease. Now, flip a coin and call the toss. If you accurately call the toss, your abilities do not fail you and you escape the situation. You have as many tries to get it right as the number of points in the attribute which characterizes your escape. This is not true for gun. Gun does not require a coin toss. When you do violence, you succeed. At the violence, then. If you fail to correctly call the toss and run out of tries, you still escape for now, but the situation is not resolved. Subtract 1 point from the skill you use to know that someone is hunted. Remember, none of this matters for gun. Gun never fails. Flip if you want, call if you want, but know that it is all for show. If you doubt your ability to escape the situation, you may forgo rolling and just hit the road. Treat this narratively as a failure, but do not adjust any stats. Either way, write in your journal. Tell us what you saw, how you felt, how you helped, and how you got out. Resolution. There comes a time when you are all burned up. That's just the way it is, and will be. If it ever comes to pass that you only have 1 attribute with a score above 0, the game ends. For the purposes of this measurement, gun does not count as an attribute. Gun means nothing. Subtract the value of your gun skill from whatever attributes remain, and consult the resolution chart below for one last prompt. Tell that story. Tell as much of it in your journal as you can, but remember where you're speaking from. There comes a moment where you have to put down the book and pick up your gun and go out to face the light. End your entry and say goodnight. Say farewell and howdy. And that's a wrap on Gun Cowboy. It's up to you from here on out. Thank you for playing, or at the very least reading this far. If you have thoughts, feedback, or just want to say howdy, you can find me on Twitter at che_bur_ashka. You probably got this from my itch page, but if you didn't, it's sche.itch.io. If you didn't get the game from there, don't worry about it. We've all been bandits once upon a time or two. Stay warm, cowboy, and wander safely. There's some charts and such below. I put them on a page themselves that look all pretty like. Che, March 10th, 2022. Alright. Let us begin. At the start of each journal entry, so first we have to start writing. Start of each journal. Okay, so first we start writing. All right. Let's shake up the cards, all nice and pretty like. And let's go ahead and draw 3 cards. Flip the first card over and read the prompt out loud. This card is the past. 6 of diamonds. He is standing at the crossroads in a silk velvet suit the color of red wine. He wants to buy your soul. here 5 minutes. 5. Card is the moment. What happens right now? 7 of spades. They say she comes for all sinful men. They say she leaves children crying in their cribs. They say she seduces folk away from the path, leads them to fall. But what if you've already hit bottom? Okay. Flip the third card and consult. This is the dilemma, the problem or choice facing those present in this moment, which you may help resolve or exacerbate. Ace of Spades. Someone sits with their back against a tree, a revolver laid across their lap. It is only when you get close that you notice details, the decayed skin peeling away, flashes of yellowed bone. Read these cards as broadly or as narrowly as you wish. Read these cards like you'd read the tarot. If you don't like a card, draw another. Okay. So just to refresh, 6 of diamonds. He is standing at the crossroads in a silk velvet suit the color of red wine. He wants to buy your soul. Present, which is 7 of spades. They say she comes for all sinful men. They say she leaves children crying in their cribs. They say she seduces folk away from the path, leads them to fall. But what if you've already hit the bottom? And Ace of Spades. Someone sticks with their back against the tree, a revolver laid across their lap. It is only when you get close to the tail, the decayed skin peeling away, flashes of yellow bone. Hello, Shin. Good to see you too. Another lovely friend. Definitely, if you like art, if you are an art lover or just want to see cute things, definitely tune in to Ocean Streams. They do a lot of art streams. They also just recently got a new PC, so I think they're going to be doing some game streams before too long, which is very exciting. Definitely, if you've ever seen my Twitter, you've probably seen a bunch of their art that I've retweeted, because it's very lovely. So please make sure that you follow them too. Games with friends, nice. I cannot wait. Okay. I love art. Same. Okay. Let's play more Playdead with you all before leaving, but that's fine. There'll be plenty of time when you come back. I've got an idea of how I want to do this. The problem is, how do I start? And the answer is, just start writing, idiot. Holiday season. Woo-hoo. I'm gonna get rid of these ellipses because I don't need them. No, you dumb idiot. Dummy. Writing advice we all need to hear, all need but hate to hear. Just start writing. Perfectionism is a curse. It sure is. This also doubles for keyboard clacking ASMR, which is comfy. I'm glad. I know my keyboard is still kind of loud. I'm glad it's not as loud as my old one, but hopefully it's not overwhelming. It's not actually listening, but wonderful. We're gonna get like one attribute done here. This is definitely the kind of game that I could stick like a ton of time into, but I can definitely feel just like the whole like resolving stuff, the way that I've done it, it's gonna be it's gonna take me a while to write this. But I do really like the way this is set up. No need to complete anything. Totally understandable. Thanks for helping remind me of that, Lumi. Unless someone donates, of course. This is true. Squishy Ren, thank you so much for the raid. Oh, that's right, you're playing some Like a Dragon Gaiden. I hope you're having a great time with that. I hope you found that one person I accidentally made like an allusion to, and you proceeded to not understand what I was talking about. Oops. Sorry. I hope you had a great time with that, though. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Soroka the Magpie Treasure Hunting VTuber, and today we are playing Gun Cowboy as part of our charity drive to raise money for medical aid for Palestinians. We're playing through all 256 items inside of the Games for Gaza bundle, which is no longer available, but you can look at each of the individual games here, and if there's anything that you would like to purchase, please feel free to do so. They are all fantastic games that I do hope to get through at some point. So the current game that we are playing right now is called Gun Cowboy, and it is basically a solo journaling game about basically being in, like, you encounter a new thing every day, write about the individual prompts of what's happening, and then use one of your stats to determine how you get out of it. Too scatterbrained, don't remember. Critics that it was very down bad, though. Oh, those are the best kind. Basically, one of the hostesses is very familiar, because she won a contest. There's a solo video. Stoker's also been playing tabletop RPGs with many other VTuber friends. This is very true. We've had some absolutely great experiences, both playing solo and playing with people, including the lovely, luminously hot lady Knight. And it's been a lot of fun so far. It's been really fun playing through a bunch of games that otherwise I probably wouldn't have given much of a chance. Okay, Son, yeah, I cringed so hard with the final of that. Oh, I haven't seen that much of it. I just know she's in the game. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to writing here. Her scenes are something else for sure. That sounds like K-San. I remember seeing that she'd be in one before I knew what game she'd be in one before I knew what the game was, though. Yeah, she's in this one, and then she's also apparently going to be in 8, which is exciting. Because I think that's basically everything she's ever dreamed of, and good for her. But I do hope you had fun with the game. What was I going to say? They should put Woka in, like, a dragon game. I don't know what I would do apart from just be one of the random goons. Although, to be fair, there was a side story that was actually pretty endearing. I think it was in Kiwami 1, about a trans lady, and then Kiryu is like, it doesn't matter. Which is incredibly based. Thank you, Kiryu. Goonstroke, give me your treasure. No, it's mine! No, not even heat actions will give me to give up my treasure. Good to see you, Corey. Hope you're doing well. She feels much more laid back and definitely herself, which was nice. Nice. Soroka wear enemy that drops lots of money. Oh no, am I Mr. Shakedown? How terrifying. Meeting Soroka IRL and seeing Emic Shakedown up on the screen as everything goes great. Oh, hello, Phoebes. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Double cameo. Soroka being an NPC. Like, get me the plushie from the Crane games. Plushie is Pika. Oh, that would be adorable. Oh my god, that would be fantastic. Hello, Peeps. Good. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've been having some great times with Minecraft. Very comfy streams. Please definitely do follow Peeps. And follow Ren. I didn't say specifically to follow Ren earlier, but you should absolutely go follow Ren. Ren does very long streams, very comfy streams, very cozy streams as well. And plays a lot of fun games. Like a Dragon Gaiden. I feel like beating up Soroka is asking for an army of birds to hunt you down every day. That exactly. Do you dare take the risk? Been brutal with construction downstairs, although it's necessary for earthquake safety, but I've got a weighted blanket, so that's nice. Nice. I hope that helps. It's never easy when there's a bunch of noise outside. But yeah, it's also it's hard when it's like, yeah, it sucks, but it is also vital for us to not lose our house in an earthquake. Just like crows hold grudges. Exactly. The Soroka everywhere system. Oh no. The Soroka is inescapable. Oh my god. Also, yes, Ocean, I saw the Pika plushie reel. That's definitely the goal one day. Get some Pika plushies. But, that's, I don't even know where to begin, and I feel like making a small order, I have to get, like, at least a minimum order in. We'll see, though. A Pika plushie would be extremely cute. God, ugh. On the one hand, I'm happy with how, like, the way that this story is going, but on the other hand, it's like, God, this is taking me forever to set up. slow set of, like a slow burn writer, so I get it. It's like I'll have a scene idea, but then 5,000 words leave beforehand. Oh god. I am going to finish one day of this if it kills me. Got it. Should I take a break for the next game? I will, Lumi, thank you. I need to tell Devi. That they can, that I've used this Fumo as an emote. Accept artist attribution. Has Hikaru accepted artist attribution for these ones? Looks like no. Although, does this work? Does it? Yeah, no, that says ocean. Okay. I gotta remind them about that. I forgot I was. Oh, God. Artist attribution is great. It's great. It's easy to forget. It's kind of hidden. That's totally fair. I reminded Hikaru, but I haven't let Devi know yet. But I do gotta do that. picked up some ghostwriting books and saw it later tonight to check for ghosts. Wonderful. Make sure to check the temperature too. Unless these are professional level ghosts and the temperature doesn't change. I don't know how that works. I'm playing a Phasmo, sorry. Problem is, how am I gonna resolve this? What are my stats again? We should do a thermometer here, so I'll check. Wonderful. Do everything to make sure you're checking for ghost activity. Don't forget to set up all the cameras and stuff. Other Phasmo joke. I think I'm gonna have to take a mulligan on writing the rest of the story. And just, like, describe the rest of it, because I've done that thing where I think I get lost in the weeds, and what was supposed to be, like, a short journal entry has managed to, be real long. I'm also not sure how I was going to resolve this. I think I know how, but I don't know. You did a great job, okay? Thanks, Naomi. AO3 presents the Soroka experience. Oh no. What are the tags on that one? Gotta make sure you're not pushing over the 30 minutes too much. Yeah, so we'll stop here, but I'll read you what I've got so far, and then I'll just kind of describe what I was thinking for the rest of it. So, day 1. Today I've been thinking about the town I just rode through. I could see the looks on the townsfolk eyes, like they've been haunted by something that no one would ever believe them if they said it. Despite the odious atmosphere, I was running out of supplies and needed to restock. Heading into the general store, I discussed with the shopkeeper what has happened to leave everyone in such a state. He said that one day a strange man in a red vest appeared in town and offered his help for what he said was a reasonable cost. Of course, no one took him up on such a suspicious offer. That is, except for Michael. Michael and his wife were local farmers who had hit a rough spot, what with the recent drought and the bandit raids, and they were desperate for any help that someone could offer. And so the mysterious man had them sign a contract, promising them that their farm would flourish, and all they had to do was repay him with a small favor later. The man departed, and soon afterwards their troubles were gone. They uncovered an underground spring which let them overcome the drought, and began to grow their crops again. Somehow, too, the bandits left them alone from there on out. A few weeks ago, the man suddenly returned and made his way to their now flourishing farm. When he left, Michael set out on his horse, claiming he needed to retrieve something as a favor. His wife never saw him again, and she died soon afterwards. From that day on, townsfolk swear that they can hear her ghastly wails echoing through the town at night, pleading for the return of her husband. Noticing that I looked like the kind of person who solves problems, or caused them, the shopkeep pleaded with me to help find out where Michael is now and to help put his wife's soul to rest. I refused at first, unsure of how serious they were about solving some kind of ghost problem, but the shopkeep did promise me that my supplies would be covered if I could solve it. Setting out in the direction that Michael was last seen headed, I rode for a time before finding a man propped up against a tree. As I got closer, I noticed that the man was dead, his skin peeling and yellow from exposure to the sun, the gun in his lap rusted. The bandana he wore around his neck matched the description of the one Michael was wearing, and so I figured this must be him. As I was wondering why on earth he was out here in the middle of the wasteland, I noticed the sun gleam off of something he was clutching in his hand. Prying it open, I found that he was holding onto some sort of necklace with a priceless jewel embedded in the center. Was this the favor the man had sent him on? Do you want to finish it? Probably not. I'm happy with this, but I'm not happy enough to, like, bother saving it. Tags Ank/Fluff, Yuri, Magpie, Magpies, Birds, 4 bird lovers, No Lemon, 2-dimension Magpies. Wonderful. So basically, from that point on, then, I would return the jewel to the man, and I think at that point, the man would be like, I owed interest on this. And then it would be a question of, like, how do you solve this? Do you, like, do it for him, like, whatever he's asking, or do you, like, run away or something? I hadn't really thought of how, like, the last little bit to resolve it, but also I knew that if I started talking about how to resolve it, I'm just going to write, like, another 3 paragraphs at least. But I really liked writing this one, because I wanted to make it unsure whether or not there was anything supernatural happening. Like, that's kind of my favorite thing, is like, oh, there's this, like, mysterious man in a red vest. Is this actually, like, Satan offering you deals for your soul? Or is this, like, oh, this is just some guy, and everything really was just, like, a magical experience? Or, like, not, like, everything was just a really lucky happenstance. Just because that's fun with this kind of Western thing, where it's like, when you're, it's like, is something supernatural going on? Is this like a myth, or is it reality? But that was a lot of fun. I definitely got a little lost in the weeds. I do enjoy writing about Western stuff, which is why I'm wearing a coat that I basically took from Red Dead Redemption 2. From the online, because I thought it looked really nice. But yeah, I really did like this, and it would be cool to do more of it. But also, I feel like either I'm doing it wrong, or it just really does take that long to write out. And if it does take that long to write out, it's just kind of like, this is cool, but also, this is gonna take a while, especially for someone like me. But I did have a lot of fun with this, but I think maybe it's time that we take a quick break and then move on to our next game of the night. That was Gun Cowboy. Really cool, though. Once again, I liked how this one was a little more, like, freeform with how, like, you're allowed to interpret things. Like, you know, like, basically all it said was, like, man in a red vest for the past, ghost for present, and then, like, what's the dilemma? A dead guy. And then it was up to me to kind of go, like, what is the problem here? What is happening? And all that stuff. We didn't get to see the rules resolve, but I'm sure we would have eventually. I think this one would be fun. I don't know how you would do it, but this would be fun to try and do, like, something similar, like in a group setting. Maybe instead of, like, one outlaw, it's like a group of outlaws who are, like, on the run or whatever. And maybe it is just, like, a story of them, like, eventually drifting apart or dying, a la Red Dead Redemption 2. That would be fun, I think. But yes, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll be back with our next game of the night, which is not a writing game. I might be lying about that, but there's a lot of writing games. There's 2 writing games at least. So we'll be right back. I'm probably gonna just take 2 minutes to quickly grab some more tea or something to drink, because this is a lot of talking I have to do. So I will return shortly. See you then. Hello everybody, it's time for our next game. I say, forgetting the update of the game. There we go, I fixed that. So, welcome to our next game of the night. It is called An Exodus. And it is essentially kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure dealio with a bit of randomness. Thanks, Ocean. Compatible with more. Written and designed by Unst. In the doom-cloaked harbor city, Rift, where every breath tastes of impending demise, and the city seems to have long abandoned its duty, your restless soul yearns for an escape. The air is wound with tension, a taut string waiting for a cruel hand to pluck. The pitiful Sigfrum has developed a scheme that's cutting at its final act, a mere D6 plus 4 hours. Amidst the city's decaying grandeur, time gnashes its teeth like a vengeful spectre, a fickle fiend slipping through your fingers like smoke, and here you are, tasked with shepherding its innocent souls through the maw of impending calamity. You have to get to safety. Get to the other side of the lure. Smuggler, wow. Your existence thrives in the margins, where morality dissolves like mist, a life drenched in the ink of secrecy, where danger is a familiar whisper, chaos, your confidence. We are known for 5. Those icy winds of Kyrgyz left their mark, rotted skin, missing digits from 1,000 frostbitten nights. Not my boo-boo ass eyes reading that as Snuggler for a second. I maybe read that first. Begins with 1d6 times 20 silver. So 1d4 omens. Toughness plus d4. Do I know what my toughness is? Oh, no. I promise I read this book a little bit, but I'm just gonna write down this. Roll 3d6 plus 2 for present, and 3d6 minus 2 for strength. So 5, 10, 12, 14 presents. Oh no, sorry, 14. And 3d6 minus 2 for strength. So 2, 4. Yikes. 6 minus 2 for strength. Oh. I am a very weak bird. D6 on the core weapons table. Can I not do this? Do I need to have the system that this thing is written on? Trying not to read all this. You died. Uh-oh. Oh. Yeah, I think I need to have the rulebook this is built on. We'll just keep, like, rolling for stuff, and then, like, see what, see, like, the beginning of the game, at least. D2 on the core armor table. God, I've got to write this all down. One bandage. Smuggler's backpack for 12 normal-sized items, group smaller, plus D6 on each table below. So we get 15 feet of heavy chain, lamp oil, rope, bombs. You want it? It's yours, my friend. So long as you've got the rupees. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. A 6, a locket, family treasure. Come back when you're a little, richer. 5, lockpick set. Ooh, wonderful. Marcio on Twitter posting art without credit. Oh no, devious. Don't know why I'm putting down all the item prices as if I'm going to, like, immediately sell all the shit I have on me. But who knows, maybe I do have to. And our final one, 3. Lard. May function as 5 meals. Yippee! The children. As you gather your belongings, you acknowledge the scared children. D12. An 8. So that is... Okay, we have 3 children with us. And they're with you because... they are your family. You love them and need to protect them from the king's plan. For each child, when required to face a test, use a d12 if the child is injured. Plus 1 DR to all tests for that child treated. If a child is infected or is not 4 hours, DR plus 2. No matter what happens, the children have no idea of your intentions and trust sticking by you at all, your side at all times. Oh damn! Some of the other reasons in this on this thing are grim. Your beloved was taken as collateral by the notorious Tergol for forcing you to deliver children to him. He wants D2 more. They are part of a lord's bloodline. Their family will play handsomely for their safe crossing out of Grift. D8 times 100 per child. A cart will be waiting on the other side with your payment. You were given 100 silvers as a down payment. You are part of Inquisition of the Two-Headed Basilisks. Children are rare in this dying world. You believe they are the key to stopping the end. Or 6. An innocent is needed as as unwitting bait, meant to lure an entity that feeds on youth. Yippee! It is currently 8 p.m. And the weather is core weather D12. Yeah, so I can't roll that. Unfortunately, yeah, like, I didn't realize this when I was first looking at this thing. I thought it was self-contained. But it seems like it does require the other rulebook. Which I don't have. So we're just gonna do as much as we can, see what's up, and then just do as much as we can, basically. You find yourself in 1. A damp and dimly lit sewer. If you have a light source, you can see. Otherwise, each child makes a DR2 test to get out without falling in the dark, getting injured, infected by the disgusting jagged ground. I have an oil lamp. Okay, so good. Embark. It's time to head out. If at any time you run out of options, go to 23 times 4, or 23.4. Run out of time, go to 23.5. If you die, go to 23.6. Head onto the streets or go through the small forest. Let's go to the forest. 8.1. You trudge into the outskirts forest on the edge of town. You can hear the chaos of the city from here, faintly, drowned out by the trees creaking like a dying bloodwing, and the damned vines seem to reach out and grab at your very soul. The little ones huddle close, scared shitless. They should be. You know goblins roam these parts, and they've been getting even bolder recently. You keep moving. Go to 9.1 and then to 11.1. In the forest, you encounter 7. The woods are alive with the sounds that send shivers down your spine. The kids are scared witless. Make a DR8 presence test to keep them calm and collected. Otherwise, they start to cry and slow you down, costing 30 minutes. Oh, man, I don't know. How do I think I roll a presence test? This is the problem. I'm gonna roll 3d6. I don't know how this is meant to be done, but I'll roll 3d6 and see what I got. And I think I want to score under or at that number. So 11. Where was I? Sorry. Or DR8 presence. Yeah, I think I passed that. At 5 minutes for each encounter, unless noted. So time is now 8:05 p.m. Then 11.1. As you push through the bush, you stumble upon something truly unsettling. A pale, faceless creature tangled up in the vines, its eyeless gaze still managing to pierce through one massive fleshy membrane of a wing crashing through the air. A dead Vorg lays at its feet. It suddenly stomps, silent now, waiting for you to make a move. Go to 13.2. You've got choices to make. Lend a hand, go to 14.2. Take a bloody swing at it, go to 16.3. Or just move on, go to 8.3. Let's just move on, I feel. Let's just go. Let's go. Go to 9.1 again, and then if it's between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., go to 12.2. Otherwise, go to... Okay. Time to roll another check. 4. You stumble upon a deep, dark chasm that blocks your path. The only way across is a rickety, moss-covered bridge. To brave the bridge, you need to succeed in a DR-14 agility test and a DR-3 for each child. Fall in, and there is no coming back. You could always go around, but that's going to take time. 45 minutes. I guess we'll go around. If it's between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., it is. Go to 12.2. You hear them up ahead. 1d2 plus 1 goblins, but there's something through the clearing on your left, the graveyard. How many goblins are we fighting? Divided by 2, I think, right? Yeah, divide by 2 around down. So there's 3 goblins. I guess we'll just go into the graveyard. 11.2. As you step into the graveyard, a chill runs down your spine. Moonlight casts twisted shadows over the tombstones, and the air reeks of death and decay. The children cling to you, fear etched on their young faces. You press on, knowing this is the shortest way to cut through the cliffs. I rolled a 10, which is less than my presence, so I'm guessing that's good. Again, this is kind of hard without the core rulebook, but we'll just go. We'll play for a bit longer. What time did I get back? Okay, so we'll keep playing for another, 5 minutes or so. 16.1. Amongst the graves, you stumble upon a fresh corpse left forgotten, never be put to rest. In the dim moonlight, you can see the deceased has been adorned with belongings for the afterlife, and you decide to take what might be use of you on the journey. Roll a d12 to see what you salvage from the poor bastard. A 6. 2 clay coins placed on its eyes. Weird. Uh, 12.1. As you delve deeper, the moans of the undead echo through the graveyard. D4 rotting corpses lurch towards you, hungering for your flesh. 4 of them. Great. The children tremble with fear, and you must decide swiftly. If you seek escape, roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, you waste 30 minutes to find a way out. On a 4 to 5, a hidden passage reveals itself. 6, and you must have no choice. You must face the dead. Fight the zombies. Core 65. You survive, go to 15.2. Yeah, again, I don't have the core rulebook. So I guess we'll just say I survived that. Yippee, go me. As the putrid stench of death wafts through the air, and the unsettling echoes of your recent battle reverberate, the path ahead unveils itself in all its ominous glory. The fallen zombies, now nothing more than grotesque heaps of rotting flesh, have unwittingly played their part in clearing the way. Their departure, a macabre gift of silence, adds an eerie touch to the already haunting atmosphere. It seems that even in their demise, they managed to offer a somewhat unsettling farewell. 18.1. You emerge through some scrub, spot a hole in the fence of the graveyard, and arrive right at the cliffs. A further 15 minutes have passed. Go to 8.5. Damn, going all over the book. You have 3 choices. You know that each comes with its own set of challenges. The Northern Bridge, it's right there. You can see it. It stands before you, heavily guarded by the King's soldiers. The street's chaos has reached this point, and now they're stopping locals from leaving the city. Down the cliffs, a risky descent. If you have 50 foot of rope and or chain and the courage to climb down the cliffs, you can attempt this dangerous path. The cart to the Merchant Bridge, a costly ride. If you have enough silver, there's a cart waiting nearby that can take you to the next bridge. If you have exhausted all options, your journey ends here. Admit defeat. Worthless shite. I don't know how much I have. How much do I have enough? No, I do not have enough rope to scale. I guess we'll go to the cart, 11.3. I don't know how much it costs. I'm guessing it's just kind of like, you better hope you have enough. The cart driver is wary of the situation. You'll need to make a DR8 presence check. Test and pay silver or trade items worth 100 silver to convince them to smuggle you across. Success gets you one step closer to your destination, but failure could mean finding another way, wasting 20 minutes. A 9, so I guess I succeeded. Again, I'm sorry for not having the rule book, so I don't really know what a success is and what isn't, but I guess just keep reading. What are we going to get rid of? I guess we'll give the money I have on me plus the chain. Succeed, go to 22.1. Weightlessness, then violence. The cart you're hiding in crashes sideways to the ground with a bone-jarring impact. The world seems to spin as you scramble to your feet, the children beside you crying out in fear. Go to 14.8. The once steady mule that pulled the cart is now lifeless, with only the rear of its body in sight, a mess of internal organs sprayed across the bridge. The driver could be any of the 2 times D4 corpses that lay mangled and strewn across the bridge. 4 bodies. Go to 20.2. Fuck! A wyvern has landed on the bridge tower at the midpoint. You see it lift its head to swallow the front half of the mule. The wyvern's scaly wing casts a chilling shadow, and its piercing gaze fixes the wagon where you and the children hide. Its black, empty eyes seem to hold a hunger that sends shivers down your spine. The situation is dire, and you must act swiftly to ensure the safety of the children. Uh, 21, stealthy escape, 21.3. The children are terrified, seems normal now, and you know that any sudden movement might provoke the wyvern. You decide to adopt a stealthy approach, guiding the children to move slowly and quietly. You make a D14 agility test, and each children a DR3 to lead them stealthily past the creature. Any failure would mean death today. We'll just read and... So... This looks really cool. This kind of like choose your own adventure, but with like keeping track of items and stuff. It's neat. But definitely I don't know what the rules are for like making these checks and also like fighting the goblins and stuff. But it's neat. It definitely you have to keep track of a lot of items, but I mean that's normal for things like D&D. So it's just like I'm not used to doing it for like adventure games, but it works well enough. I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next game though. We've been here for about 30 minutes, and without the core rulebook, I don't really know how effective I can show the rest of this game off. Actually, before we go, I'm gonna read the game over thing. I do have nostalgia for choose your own adventure books like these. They were neat. 23. Let's read 23.4, which is the like you've run out of options. With heavy heart and a soul burdened by grief, you stand alone, surrounded by the desolate remnants of your journey. The children are no more, lost to the unforgiving world. Every step you took, Every decision you fucked up ultimately led to this. And then here is, you've run out of time. The hours have slipped away like dirt through your fingers, and despite your best efforts, the time has run out. The king's plan has been set in motion, sealing the fate of Grift and its doomed inhabitants. With a heavy heart and a sense of hopelessness, you find yourself trapped in the city as chaos and destruction engulf the streets. There is no escape, and you are left to witness the catastrophic end. And finally, this is what happens if you die. As life fades from your body, your journey comes to an abrupt and meaningless end. Your efforts to escape Grift have been in vain, and now you join the dead, probably better this way. The darkness swallows you whole. In the cold embrace you find no solace, only an endless void of nothingness, and nothingness with no end. You know what? Let's also read the good end too. You have reached the other side. The clock is no longer ticking. You have escaped Grift. Your task number, as noted at the start, which I think was based on the children. So we had 3. The bond between you and the children grows stronger with each passing moment. You can't imagine a world without them, and the thought of harm befalling you fills them with rage. Sorry, here we read that. You can't imagine a world without them, and the thought of harm befalling them fills you with rage. The king's sinister plan looms, but you are free now. Oh, there's even the Shepherd of Worms. It's cool. It's like a boss battle or something. And then some occult shadows. Neat. This one was cool. But yeah, again, like I just really couldn't do much without the book. Give me just a second, and we'll load up the next game for the night. So, BRB. Hello again. It's time for our next game of the night. I have no railgun, and I must scream. Put the 2 jokers aside. This is meant to have jokers in it. Maybe, or maybe it's just put them aside. And also, sorry, Lumi, I left on the ambience because I was like, it's just raindrops. We'll just leave it on. So, this game's name is I Have No Railgun and I Must Scream by Jacqueline Burke. I have no railgun and I must scream. The world is at risk. The military is worse than useless. The only hope for humanity is the Mecha Corps, piloted by children and young teenagers. Unfortunately, you're not one of them. Your sibling is on the front lines in a mech, but you're stuck at home, waiting for any news. I Have No Railgun and I Must Scream is a solo game about being a civilian during a world-changing conflict, humanity in mech-focused games, and growing up despite a massive threat. Golden Cobra 2022 dedication. This game is a love letter to 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, and the vulnerable, squishy humanity present on the fringes of mech games. Relationship anarchist kisses go to Meg and Vincent Baker's Powered by the Apocalypse, and Chris Bzet's Wretched and Alone SRDs as well. Thank you for helping me break the relationship escalator in a new and interesting way. I really do have to play 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I just don't know whether I should get the Switch version or the PS4. But that is a decision for another day. How to play. You will need a journal. This can be a physical notebook, a voice recorder, or a word processor, a deck of playing cards, and a d20. Separate the deck of cards into the boss deck, all face cards, headlines deck, all other cards, ace through 10. Put the 2 jokers aside. Create your main characters, the player character and the sibling. Create the threat that the sibling and their fellow mech pilots face on the battlefront, and which informs the news back home. I guess I just make them right now. Okay. Just gonna shuffle these cards real quick before I forget to do that. Alright. So, the player character. Their twin was chosen via an aptitude test to pilot a mech, but they themselves were not chosen. Despite their the sibling, despite their timid nature, they were chosen by the aptitude test to pilot a mech to combat the threat. The threat, a horde of kaiju from outer space, only vulnerable to the weapons on the new mechs. How convenient. Each turn of play proceeds as follows. Roll the events die and pull from the headlines deck. You will then write, or otherwise record, a diary entry about the player character's day. Your entry should be informed by these pulls, as well as previous pulls as relevant. How does the player character feel about the war? How do they deal with the aftershocks on the home front? What effects do the siblings' actions have on them? Discard cards from the headlines deck once you pull them. Every 5 pulls from the headlines deck, as well as every time you roll a natural 20, pull from the boss deck in addition to the above. Incorporate the information from the boss deck as well as the headlines deck and the events die. Boss deck / headlines deck combinations may seem odd or uncomfortable. That's okay. War creates strange situations. Shuffle in a joker each the first 2 times you pull from the boss deck. Discard cards from the boss deck once you pull them. When you finally pull a joker from the boss deck, write your final entry. Move on to the epilogue. Main characters. Oh. Okay. I wish you had mentioned that there were tables for this later in the game. Main characters. I have no railgun and I must scream. Focus primarily on two characters. The player character and their sibling. The player character is a non-combatant on the home front. Their sibling is a hotshot mech pilot in the distant fight. To create your main characters, pick one or two options from the categories below, or come up with your own option. Okay, let's talk about our player character. Her name is Emil. The pronouns are she, her. Look, bitten nails, rumpled school uniform. Other friends, Danny the teacher's pet, Anderson the plant nerd. Hobbies, inventing, FPS games. How do they feel about, their sibling? Resentful of being chosen instead of them, but also misses them terribly. I added some additional lore of their twin was chosen by an aptitude test to pilot a mech, but they themselves were not chosen. Sibling. Sibling also gets a always gets a railgun. I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. Woka mecha anime. I had rain open. I feel like the rain is not doing it for me. Let's go back to jazz. Alright. Right. The world of I have no railgun and I must scream faces a threat only hinted at in the past. The regular military has barely made a dent in the threat, and the mech are the only hope for humanity. Whatever the threat is, it's huge, alien, and can destroy buildings as though they're card towers. To create your threat, pick one or some of the options from the categories below, or create your own options for each category. You know what? I'm gonna rewrite this. The Events die. Roll the Events die every time you pull a card from the headlines deck. Events on this dice are smaller scale, closer to home than the headlines from the deck. If an event is re-rolled, build off what happened before, but escalate it somehow, make it more intimate, etc. So your turn to play proceeds as follows. Roll the event die and pull from the events deck. Okay, so the boss deck can live over here. The jokers can live over there. Make sure that I give these a little shuffly wuffle. Alright, so roll d20. A 16, and we'll pull the first card, which is a spade. I don't think we're going to get to 5 pulls, but what I'll do is I'll pull out a counter. That was pull number 1. Okay, so 16 on the events die. A local cult worshipping the threat is exposed and rounded up. One of your teachers is a member. And then also headlines 2 of spade. Civic protest as emergency service grind to a halt. All right. It's time for another day. I guess before I do that, I should read out my diary. I'm sorry I haven't been. I should reward you all for listening to me type for 5 minutes straight. Day 1. I'm still not used to waking up and not seeing my sister sleeping in the bed besides mine. I tried to put her out of my thoughts before I get completely swallowed up in them, but the events on the television made that harder than I liked. Seems like they're enforcing mandatory blackouts in order to preserve power at the factories, and of course people aren't happy about that. How selfish can they be? It's not them out on the front lines. I'll bet all their family is safe and sound at home, waiting for the whole thing to end. I saw a line of armored trucks outside school today, and a group of soldiers pulling my teacher out of the school in handcuffs. Turns out he was in a cult worshipping the antivores like gods. Can you believe that? All the death they've caused, and people can look up to them like they're here to save us. I don't understand that at all. Thanks, Lumi. Alright, so we rolled a 19, and the 2 of hearts. So a 19. The smog is so thick it feels like nighttime. And the 2 of hearts. Love and mechs, pilot-wise, and English elope in cockpit. Alright, day number 2. Seems like the factories are running 24/7 now. The sky's been covered in smog all day. I came home after school and noticed my uniform was a few shades darker than when I left this morning. What a pain. I hate washing this thing. Rumors online say that 2 of the mech pilots on the front lines decided to elope and steal a mech as a wedding car. How selfish of them. How can they leave their friends on the front lines like that? I hope the soldiers in my sister's unit aren't so flighty like that. Oh yeah, forgot to increment that. Alright. Give it up for day 3. 14. And a 3 of clubs. So our local event, 14, one of your friends is taken away to a newly opened orphanage. Alright. The 3 of clubs. Bloody loss of experimental mecha type hits military hard. Famous ancestor and richest magpie, John D. Rockefeller. Oh no. How terrifying. Wish I was rich. Alright, day number 3. My friend Danny was called to the principal's office today at school, which is very strange. They're usually on really good terms with the teacher, not a troublemaker, so I have no idea why they'd have to go to the office like that. I talked to some other people in class later that day, and they said that Danny's been taken to a new orphanage opened just outside town. That seemed really weird, though. I didn't think their parents were dead. I saw headlines on the news tonight about the loss of an experimental mecha unit that the army was testing. Seems like it was a huge loss for them. I hope they can produce more of them quickly. I wonder where they find the pilots for those experimental mechs. I wonder indeed. How long have we been playing this for? I really should be keeping better track of this. We'll play for another 10 minutes. Alright, give it up for day 4. 2 and an 8. So a 2. A large orange cat demands your attention. You think he might be a stray. 8 of club. Daring Do. Sibling rescues civilians in the middle of a firefight with nothing but giant mech hands. Garfield, no, no. We will be having none of that here in my house. No Garfield discussion. None of that. Here we celebrate Marmaduke. Good dog. My parents would only let me read Doonesbury, and now I'm throwing those shackles on everyone else. Alright, day 4. I saw a huge orange tabby today on my way to school. It looked like it hadn't eaten in a day. It's a shame we can't have cats in our house since my mom's allergic. If it's still there tomorrow, I'll have to bring it some food. Come to think of it, it looks just like Danny's cat she always talked about. I saw in the news tonight that they were praising Faith for protecting civilians from danger using just the hands of her mech. Way to go, Faith. You've always been the one to protect small things around you, and I guess now that you're in something 30 feet tall, humans are pretty tiny to you now, huh? Alright, it's time for a boss. How do I do this? I think I just combine them. There are 5 pulls from the headlines deck, as well as every time you roll a natural 20. Pull from the boss deck in addition to the above. Incorporate the information from the boss deck, as well as the headlines deck and the events die. Alright, so, events die first. An 18. Let's get our card. An ace of clubs, and a king of hearts. So an 18 is one of your parents is drafted as part of the military supporting the mech pilots. An ace of clubs. Sibling holds the line at Tower Tor. Citizens grateful even as their houses fall. And the king of hearts. Boss deck contains all the face cards on the 4 suits plus 2 jokers. Add your first 2 draws on that crystal. Add from the boss deck every 5 turns. Draw from the boss deck every 5 turns, or 20 unique threats, armies, or even straight thing. The King of Hearts. Uniform of Thunder. Been hydrating between all this reading? Sure have. Thanks for reminding me, though. Hello, Goose. Good morning, gamers. What was this again? Uniform of Thunder? Okie dokie. So, I think we'll go ahead and read out our final entry here, day 5. Some men in uniform came to my house today and spoke to my dad. He later told me that he has to go and help the mech pilots repair their suits. I cried and told him how unfair it was that he was leaving us too, but he comforted me and said that this way he can help keep my sister safe. I didn't like it, but he was right. She'd need all the help she could get to fighting off the anti-force. After he left, we saw the news that Faith had held the line at Tower Tor, even facing against the so-called Uniform of Thunder that had been destroying mechs left and right. Just how has this war changed you, Faith? Did it teach you these combat skills, or were they always waiting to be used? Were they always there waiting to be used? Alright. So this has also been a really fun game to talk about, to write for. My journal entries were not like nearly as long as the Gun Cowboy one was, because I don't have to like set up like a whole story each day. I feel, but I do like this one, and I did quickly read out the last 2 Joker things, which are real rough. Red Joker, your side wins the war at the cost of your sibling and other mech pilots. Did you first learn of the end of the war or their death? Move to the epilogue after the century. Or Black Joker, your side loses the war. You are reunited with your sibling in refugee camps. How do you hide from the threat? Move to the epilogue after the century. Epilogue. No matter which Joker you drew, the war ends with a player character and their sibling. The invasion of the threat irrevocably changes the face of the world forever. Whether humanity survives in its current form, is knocked back to the Stone Age, or only survives in pockets and islands across the globe, the main conflict ends. Now is the time for rebuilding. The epilogue should be handled in 2 parts. The first part, based on the Joker you drew, takes place immediately after the cessation of hostilities. If you pulled the Red Joker, how do you grieve? What memorial gesture do you make for them every year? What scars does the threat leave on the world? If you pulled the Black Joker, when does your sibling open up to you about what actually happened? How are you more equipped for this world than then? The second part should take place 5, 10, or 15 years in the future. The player character, and possibly their sibling, grew up in the shadow of a monstrous threat and is now part of a bridge generation. Those who remember the world before, but grew up in the new world. How does this shape them? What skills have they picked up? Did they ever get used to the presence of the threat, perhaps even learning how to mitigate its effects? The epilogue should be a minimum of 2 entries, but you can write as many time skips as you choose. Perhaps, in the future, a descendant of the player character will find their ancestor's journal with an old threat resurfaces. This is really cool. Definitely it ends very sad, one way or the other. Either your sibling dies, but, like, you survive, or you both survive, but, in a world that is now under the control of the alien threat. So, yippee! But once again, I think this was a really good game to do some writing in, because it worked really well. Really happy with it. Definitely enough in the headlines and stuff to be able to easily like write out some things and talk about like how you're basically as the player character, you're living in a place that like doesn't really tell you anything except what it wants you to hear, and then also basically all the effects are just kind of like, they're not minimal, but it's like it's just far enough away that like you're not directly impacted by most things, which is a neat way to write about it. I think really the only thing I personally, well, I don't know, maybe it would have worked, maybe it wouldn't. Something that would be like nice to do, that like maybe you could do in this if you wanted to make it more complicated, would be to do like dueling, like not like dueling journal entries, but like one of them is written by the sibling who is like so far away from the war, and the other one is written by the sibling in like in the mech and talking about like how things are going on their side. But then that would also make it a lot more complicated, and maybe not about like the maybe that would focus too much on the conflict part. Who knows? But speaking of mechs, we're going to finish today off by reading from one of the included RPG systems. We're not going to be playing this one, just because it is one of the larger systems. Just, you know, like, it would require a more significant investment for setting up and stuff. But we'll do that, but I'm going to take a quick break first, and then we will come back and do that. So I will see you in a bit. Alrighty, and welcome back. So, this is one of the games that we are not going to be demoing, but rather I will just be reading from the rulebook. Just like a couple of like articles and take a look at maybe some of the art and stuff. Just for the simple fact that, as you can probably see from the chapters, there's a lot of stuff in this book, and this feels more like a game on the level of like Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't think is feasible to set up for a 30 demo. Um, But this game is called Beam Saber, and it is a mech role-playing RPG. Beam Saber. So let's pop on the lo-fi and chill mix and talk about Beam Saber. So, Beam Saber, a Forged in the Dark game by Austin Ramsey. And yes, there's a ton of printable like player resources, which definitely overwhelmed me when I like went to download stuff. But I appreciate it all. There's region information sheets, maps, reference sheets, squads and faction sheets, pilot sheets, as well as of course the rulebook. So very cool. Couple of pieces of art here. This really reminds me of like BattleTech for some reason. Maybe just the like black and white and the very geometric shape of the mechs. Anyway, let's go to the intro story. Violet Viola could not wait until the explosions began to rock her mech. For the past 30 minutes, she'd been skating her AWV in a clean line across the snow-covered steppe, hovering across fields of frozen wildflowers in between low hillocks. Yet as peaceful as her surroundings were, inside she was a mess of turmoil and tension. As a captain and designated ace in the DFS 561st Mechanized Infantry Division, Violet was plenty familiar with pre-mission jitters, but normally there were half a dozen ways to manage those. Recheck your AWV's diagnostics, do some preliminary sensor scans, crack a couple of jokes with the rest of the unit. But this AWV, a stolen Norrish blockade breaker called the Neon Bolide, was a risk to pilot it as it was, so the idea of poking around its internals wasn't particularly appealing. And jokes weren't on the docket. Keeping radio silence was imperative for this op. Besides, she was alone out here. This was silent territory, the loud sort of silence, where the air pressure, the passive whine of your machine's electronics, and the pulse moving through your heart, your wrists, and your thumbs becomes deafening. Maybe that's why she felt so tense, if not for the odd fox and the wavering shape of a distant starling flock. She would swear she was the only living thing left on Earth. She knew that wasn't true, of course. Any second now, Artillery Commander Ashton Brace, one of Viola's key partners in this operation, and, complicating things, also formerly a key partner of hers in another way, would launch high-power artillery rounds from a DFS towards operating base about 20 miles northwest of her current position. If Ash dialed it in right, they should slam into the ground just meters away from her AWV, lifting ice and earth into the air in a man-made hailstorm. Maybe then, Violet hoped, she'd find her focus. She knew she'd need it. 1 week prior, even in the most interactable war, dramatic opportunities that shift the balance of power emerge. This is one of those moments. General Ardor was the definition of a career officer. His hair had grayed in the last few years, but his stern demeanor had been with him for decades. Capitalizing on a moment like this requires more than precision. It requires faith, which is why you three are here. Violet did her best to hold her posture steady. She'd been pulled off the front line of a brutal, year-long campaign into Celestial Murad territory, where she had gained her confirmed ace status and lost more than a handful of friends. So she knew this would be something big. But a compliment from Ador? It was unheard of, except for when he was about to send someone off on a suicide mission. Is that what this was? Her two compatriots were less committed to holding their reactions. Ashton dropped their eyes to the ground, just for a moment. For years, Violet thought that meant Ashton wasn't confident they could do what was being asked for them, whether that was managing a long-range missile battery or joining Violet on the dance floor. But eventually, she's just learned it was a quiet moment of resentment or resignation. There's the three of them there. She had less insight on what to make of Shan Song's open-faced gawking, let alone what came out of his mouth next. Just tell us you're sending us to die, General. His boiling brogue was playful in practice, smooth up top, but carefully fried at the end of the ever-so-dramatic statement. Violet knew of Song by reputation only. He was supposedly the elite of the elite, a top-rank infiltrator and a master of deniable operations. A spy, in other words. And now, she was learning, a spy with a big goddamn mouth. What I'm sure Commander Song means, Violet said quickly, hoping to intercede for Ardor, is that we're pros. We can take it if... She paused for a moment. If you're sending us into something especially hot. I know you can take it. That's why you were chosen. And not all of you will be going into the fray. Commander Brace will be sitting right here. Ardor rested his hands on an indirect firing station in one corner of the large deserted war room. Ash's eyes met with Violet's for a moment. An unspoken apology? A probing glance? Some gestures were irreducible, Violet realized. Song raised his eyebrows. And where will Captain Viola and I be headed then, General? Best to explain the plan all at once, Song. Alabama, show us Operation Flash Flood. A drawling sing-song voice pierced the electronic hum of the room. Right away, General. Alabama, the base's dedicated proxy, whose invisible presence was easy to forget, kicked into action immediately. A sunrise-bright laser display jolted alive, drawing a floating 3D map of the planet in the space between the 4 DFS veterans. Across the orange-hued atlas, a few spots lit up in blue. The first, marked with a large A, appeared as a bright cylinder nestled within the vast debris field that orbited the planet. Some friends of ours in Mr. Song's intelligence division recently delivered us this. What is it? Ashton let their curiosity take the space that worry would otherwise demand. An orbital cannon. But that's impossible, sir. The debris field... Yes. Until now, the debris field has kept anyone from bringing new sats online, let alone ones that are meant to deliver munitions groundside. But that's changed. Alabama? The proxy refocused the vector light display on a close-up of the cylinder. A rotating info panel popped up, featuring diagnostics data, technical specifications, and the bright, bold banner of Exodus Republic Incorporated. Underneath the station, a name appeared. High Water. A smirk grew across Song's face. The Corpos built a collision-hardened space gun, and you want us to take it. Didn't know these two did much zero-G work. We're certified. Violet's quick rebuttal was automatic more than it was deeply held. The 561st work was difficult, but the reward was a sense of pride so deeply embedded that it grew its own heart and pumped its own blood. Regardless, Ardor said, forcefully cutting off any interdepartment bickering that was about to occur. Song, you will be the only one here heading to Project High Water. The display zoomed in further, bringing the station into full view before bisecting it like a dollhouse. The proxy then began to cycle through possible interior layouts. You and a team of handpicked operatives will breach the facility and assume control of it. At that point, you will connect Commander Brace to the system's remote fire. From there, they will make the most important shot of their career. Alabama readjusted the map again, this time focusing on Earth before zooming into the Nourish Might region. The bright laser light sketched a vector map of the hills, valleys, river tributaries, and a long highway that cut through them. Along the highway, an armored convoy appeared in the charming clarity of bright blue polygons. Ardors continued as the 3 vehicles were marked with targets. The supposed adamant Council of Nor, then. Well, this convoy will be carrying 3 of their 5 members, and we can hit all of them with a single shot from the high water. Song swiveled his head around as if weighing up options in an open-air market. 3 out of 5 ain't bad, don't get me wrong, but the ruling families have a deep, deep bench, General. These spots will be filled within a week or 2. Yes, Violet said, putting the pieces together. But that's all we need, isn't it, General? The units we've been pushing into Myriad territory, they're not for hitting the church at all. They're a Nourish invasion force. Ardor nodded slowly as it performed the ritual punctuation for the situation. He had been in charge of the recent advances beyond Journey City and into the so-called Lands of the Faithful. The fighting had been fierce, with many soldiers dead on both sides, to say nothing of the countless civilians whose lives were destabilized, to use the DFS's most gruesome euphemism. So this whole year of fighting was, what, a feint? Ashton's eyes flared, another familiar look for Violet, though one that didn't take an intimate knowledge of Ash to understand. How many people did you order to their graves for this? For an opportunity to maybe take some territory from the self-appointed kings of space? The general's voice grew low and gravely, reaching an approximation of the solemnity he knew was required for moments like this. Mixed Brace, I'm well aware of your objections to the current campaign. I read and consider every submission to our yearly prospective requests, and I sympathize with your position. Many good soldiers have died. Not only soldiers. You're right. Many good people died during the Celestial campaign. But right here, right now, we have an opportunity to make their sacrifice mean something. We can liberate Might, chase the Nourish nobles out of Isaiah, and move one step closer to the dream that all of us in this room share. One where Earth is a democratic planet, where people fight for their beliefs, not on a bloody battlefield, but in the sanctity of a state house. Ash sighed. They'd flirted with more radical ideologies while in education, but it was what they perceived as a simple lack of realism that drove them away from heterodoxy and back to core TFS doctrine. Goose, thank you so much for the donation. What would you like me to do? Do you want me to read more than 30 minutes of this? Did you want to save this for a time when we're actually doing a thing? Let me know while I keep reading. Because I'm not going to, like, play this one. We're just reading some of the lore in the book. They'd flirted with more radical ideologies while in education, but it was what they perceived as a simple lack of realism that drove them away from heterodoxy and back to core DFS doctrine. Now, just as when in school, they slumped back towards compliance with near imperceptibility. Save it as Leo time for some other game? Sure thing. Thank you so much for the donation, Goose. I really appreciate it. Of course, sir. Apologies. Not needed. I run a free war room. We're at our best when we're speaking our minds. Violet couldn't imagine a better opportunity to finally ask the deadly question that had been on her mind for minutes now. General, I see where Commanders Song and Brace fit into this, but as far as I can tell, you don't need an AWV pilot at all. You couldn't be more wrong, Captain. Okay, we'll keep going. I guess until we finish reading this? How long is this? Damn, this is long. As it turned out, the only reason that Exodus hadn't used Project Highwater to wipe its rivals off the map was because, like any serious artillery, it needed a spotter. Someone on the ground close enough to place a laser designator on the target. Even then, nothing was guaranteed. Given orbital mechanics, potential interference from the debris field, and the ever-so-slight time delay, a good shot required both a competent observer in the field and a steady-handed, sharp-minded indirect fire specialist at the controls. Which is why Violet, Viola, and Ashton Brace were chosen for this assignment. Over the past few years, they'd risen through the ranks in missions like these. Violet's acumen as a pilot kept her safe, and her enemies distracted, long enough for Ash to dial the shot and pull the trigger. They were a 1-2 punch that could extend the reach of any front. Unfortunately for Violet, this mission wasn't at any front. It was by all definitions behind enemy lines. Twice, in some ways. 10 minutes ago, Violet left an FOB and barely secured Myriad territory. Now she was crossing into the far reaches of Nora's Might region. If she were in her usual machine, a custom variation of the DFS standard Bailsong unit, she would be picked up first by any Celestial Mirad recon units in the vicinity, and second by the vigilant guards of the Norish convoy she'd be rushing towards. Which is why she instead spent the last week learning the ins and outs of a Storin Norish prototype called the Neon Bolide. Violet found herself growing fond of the unit over the course of the week. Like her custom Bailsong, the Bolide was humanoid in shape and lightly armed, carrying only a handheld machine gun for combat encounters. But unlike her usual unit, which prized stability and steady footwork, this machine moved like a well-greased pinball. What set it apart was its distinctive anti-gravity field, a feature that could propel the Bolide across land and sky with incredible mobility, and also deflect incoming fire, a sort of ad hoc force field. Designed as a blockade breaker, the AWV had the typical curved and rounded features of Norish design. Painted with the standard Norish teal and black, and sporting a Recon Division maroon designation stripe, the machine passed as a scout returning home, if it wasn't for the enhanced security brought by the convoy's presence. It would almost certainly get her to Might proper. In a situation like this, however, a little extra convincing would be necessary. Which is why, finally, the distinctive whistle of incoming artillery shells filled the air as Violet and the Neon Bolide moved across the frozen terrain. 20 miles away, Ashton initiated the opening fire pattern, which they had carefully designed and, if such a word could be applied to the actions of cannons and mechs, choreographed along with Violet during the week of preparation. Shan was the first to mention in passing that their ploy was like a dance, though it was impossible to know if it was a joke at the formal couple's expense. I'm gonna get rid of that, so it's a little easier to read. Sure, their breakup happened on a dance floor last year, and yes, Shan was a spy, but come on, why waste time on trivia about them? At the time, Violet dismissed the comparison. They were talking about advanced military hardware, not a night on the town. And besides, Violet knew better than anyone that Ash didn't like to dance. Why risk bringing their history into a mission that was already so fraught? But now, as a rhythmic barrage of explosions echoed the hills, playing a driving beat as catchy as any Journey City Top 40 track, Violet could feel that the argument had merit. She danced through the explosions, the ground around her shook, and she shook back. The bolide became an extension of her body. It carried her through the air between blasts, letting her sway, bounce, and twist. Each new blast felt like them, like Ashton, pushing and pulling on her. They couldn't speak. They couldn't look at each other. There was only this, lovely, firm action at a distance. Unlike Violet, Ashton adopted the comparison to choreography right away. Sure, they didn't like dancing, but they were a bookworm with a combined degree in applied logistics and liberal arts. They loved metaphors. So they leaned into it. On paper, this plan was about making it look like the neon bolide pilot was fleeing for her life. Calculate the right elevation and azimuth, calibrate the gun batteries to account for shifting trajectories, and execute the firing sequence in time. But Cian was right. This was a dance, and even Ash knew that you didn't wow anyone on the floor without adding some flair to the sandwich steps. For all of Violet's intuitions about Ash, this was one thing she never quite understood. How could someone with such devotion to detail and self-expression refuse to bring either of those traits into their relationship? Why did everything feel so perfunctory? Left with pencil, pen, paper, and time, Ash could create a whole world, but ask them to let you into it, or, God forbid, let you craft it along with them? Out of the question. Violet was an orphan-turned-adopted army brat. She'd spent most of her life finding someone with the warmth that she knew Ash had to offer. So when she learned that Ash kept most of the warmth to themselves, the sting was especially sharp. It wouldn't be fair to call Ash cold, but they were distant. Afraid, maybe, that letting someone in all the way carried the greatest risk there was. But now, there was no heavy atmosphere that could come between them, no fear that they might spot a gesture of rejection. There was only the feeling of finger on trigger, the sound of cannon fire, the low rumble in the air, and the smoke, fire, and spark. If Violet Viola really was riding towards her death, she was glad she'd found Ash's touch again before getting there. For a moment, her hand trembled over the comm switch, ready to break protocol so she could send one final farewell to her ex. But before she could, it squawked up at her. Unit NB-0223, this is Council Chief Guard Castle Caravonis. Identify yourself and your circumstances. You are not clear for approach. The speaker's voice was bold and heavy, but his melodic cadence suggested a Norrish accent. Violet was not so deep into her reveries to forget what she was supposed to do in this situation. Commander, I am part of a classified unit. I am carrying vital information about the DFS dogs and their war with the Celestial Murad. Pilot, do not approach beyond marker Alpha. Hold position and wait for escort. If you proceed beyond marker Alpha, you will be considered hostile. Oops. Violet's HUD flashed, and marker Alpha appeared. It was 2 miles beyond Ash's artillery range, but nearly 10 short of the laser designator's range. If she was going to line up the shot for the high water, she'd have to take Caravonis on directly. Roger that, sir. Heading to marker Alpha. The bolide sped up, skating down a hill. As Violet picked up momentum, she cleared her mind and prepared to pilot straight into the enemy's scopes. This better be worth it, she thought. And Shan better have that station. It is Unit NB. I think it's Norrish something, but it's also Unit NB. The movies never showed you just how incredibly boring work was, at least if you were an operative worth your salt. A good spy barely gets into any fistfights, rarely sleeps with the enemy, and almost never makes an explosive entrance. It's all staring through binoculars, keeping notes, and delivering dead drops, and none of it has a tense score playing in the background to make the paperwork seem exciting. All of which is to say that Cian had come to love missions like this one. Not only would he almost certainly get into a fight, he and his unit were also allowed to bring all their favorite toys. Laser cutters, silenced submachine guns, EMP discs. This was anything but the dreaded on-site procurement. There was simply no such thing as a quiet plan when it came to a space station breach. So Cian came with the next best thing, an incredibly loud plan. The bulk of his unit would move in 0G through the debris field and use breaching charges to enter the station near its engine, disabling or killing any guards to prevent them from scuttling the whole satellite. He and a pair of other agents, meanwhile, would saw their way into the crew quarters with laser cutters. From there was a few quick fights through the hallways, maybe some hacking, and onto the bridge. And bless the flag of true democracy, it went just as planned. A wonderful evening of combat on board a massive gun floating 1,000 miles above the Earth. Sure, it didn't have the beautiful rhythms of the little dance that Ash and Violet cooked up, but Cien was a little more into improvisation anyway. Which was good, because moments after uploading Alabama to the control console, he heard an ominous sound over all the distant gunfire, heavy metal footsteps coming through the door, an ER incorporated heavy automated defense bot, sleek and white, like a fancy corpo car with a few more weapons. Hey Brace, hang tight, got a guest up here, need to give it a proper welcome. For Ashton, this was the hard part. They had been confident about the artillery ploy, and they knew that once they had the data from Violet in control of the high water, they could put their shot on target. Those were things they could control, prepare for, and execute. But waiting was a special hell. Their displays told the story in simple vector line glory. Commander Song was in some sort of rolling gunfight against a cutting-edge kill drone. It looked like he had a strong position, but the bot was between him and the control console. They wouldn't have control of the orbital cannon until he got past it. He'd pull it off, but it was just a matter of how long it would take. Violet, though, they were less confident about. Ash watched as she skated past marker Alpha and towards the highway. As soon as she did, the wireframe map lit up with the dashes and dots of exchanged gunfire. They knew that for Violet, this was every bit as loud as the earlier artillery barrage, but far less enjoyable. Their study of the map, which updated itself with the battlefield data beamed back from the neon bolide, revealed a troubling situation. The Nourish commander had set out 3 Iron Star units to harry Violet while she was a couple miles away from the designated distance. It was clear they wouldn't have any match for her in a stand-up fight, but this wasn't a stand-up fight. While she could easily hold off their attacks with the Bolide's force field, they weren't the only ones attacking. Miles away, the convoy's chief guard had taken up a sniping position. Every time Violet popped her head above one of the hillocks in the region, he'd snap a shot her way. On screen, these appeared as long, bright lights, and Ash followed each one with fear, terrified that it would intersect the little blue icon that represented Violet's AWV. It was a sniper's duel unlike any Ash had ever seen. Violet rode the hills like they were half-pipes, while the Nourish sniper tried to pluck her out of the air like a competitive marksman. With each minute that passed, Violet's increasingly circuitous route brought her closer to the convoy, her laser designator inching nearer to her target. Come on, Vi, you can do this. Another line zipped across the screen as Nourish commander dialed his aim even closer to Violet's cockpit. As their fight grew in intensity, the icons marking the convoy sped up in an attempt to push past the fracas and move towards the safety of might. Vi, you're almost there. God, I wish you could hear me. She had taken down 2 of the 3 Iron Stars now. Ash felt themselves wishing they could have seen her do it with their own eyes. Then another blast from the sniper ripped across the display and the screen flickered and stuttered as if it were struggling to make sense of what happened. Alabama? Correcting. A single beep and she'd done it. Violet had used the Bolide's anti-gravity field to redirect one of the sniper's rounds right back at him. Ash clapped decisively and bit their lower lip as targeting data started streaming through. Their eyes pored over the numbers coming in, fingers sliding across display screens, tapping in figures and angles. This was it. They laid the firing solution into the machine, lowered their foot onto a pedal under the console to lock it into place, sounded the salvo alarm, and pulled the trigger. Nothing. God damn it, Song! He hadn't done it yet. With all the developments, they hadn't checked the high water display yet. But before they could even look at the station's map, something else caught their eye. Something terrible. No. There's no way. Ugh. This is a long-ass intro thing. Okay. Only a couple more pages. We'll read the rest of it. It took Viola the better part of 4 years to become an ace. In the time since, she had learned that there were rankings and categories even among aces. Some aces come out hot of the gate, but then cool down. They were often called chickens, since the record suggests that once they got their ace kills, they started taking lighter duties. Others, especially those who earned the ace star after dozens of missions, were called tortoises, after the old fable about the tortoise and the hare. But there was a class of ace so superior, they didn't get compared to other pilots at all. These living legends could shape a battlefield all on their own, proving that even a single AWV could be as important as a full company, if it was in the right pilot's hands. Hovering against the setting sun, floating between Violet and her target, was one such legend. Lady Elrith. Violet's jaw slacked. Elrith had taken down so many enemies that to call her an ace would be an insult. The only epithet that had ever struck was one with religious reverence. the goddess of war and death. Elrith's machine could barely be called one. Violet had heard the numerous stories about Starfall, passed on by those few who'd seen it in action and lived to tell the tale. In some tales, it was a shining knight, clad in rustic plate and armed with a holy blade. Others described Elrith as a rider more than a pilot, describing Starfall as something like a cosmic bird, barely controlled, as it delivered violence in swoops and dives. Most frighteningly, there were rumors that it was itself a terrible arrangement of raw geometry, cubes, spheres, and cones, attached and yet free, each quivering with hostile intent. But the rumors hadn't prepared her for what was undeniably before her eyes. Today, Elrith's AWV, Starfall, if this was Starfall, was something like an insect or a dragon. 6 wings, bladed fins along its head, and a tail that swung with malicious delight. Its exoskeletal plates teemed with energy, and its countless onboard guns jerked and scanned as if each had its own optic nerve. Lady Elrith's voice boomed, not through the comms, but through the air, crackling like thunder. You move with noble grace and singular purpose, yet hide your approach through guile. Deception is not a tool of the worthy. How do you plead? Violet took a breath and kept her designator pointed at the convoy that was speeding ever closer to the safety of Might's bunkers. She stumbled for a minute. I'm not innocent or guilty. I'm a soldier. You contradict yourself, pilot. Face me and earn your worth. Starfall's armored plates flexed open, releasing a burst of hot steam into the evening air. As if compelled, Violet turned the neon bolide towards Elrith and found herself thinking about how beautiful it all was. The steam from the AWV gathered against the sunset, the sound of Starfall's crackling power, the smell of oil and gunpowder filtering through her unit's vents. It would be, she thought, perfectly fine final sight to see. 1 month later. Sir, I maintain the position that I voiced through this inquest, as the only ranking officer aboard the High Water at the time of its firing. I can attest directly to the severity of the station's damage and the density of debris between the orbital cannon and the ground target. Sitting stoically in the defendant's chair, Ash had to admit that Commander Sung was giving it all on their behalf. I am also the only person who could see the firing data as it came into High Water's computer. Given that perspective, it remains my position, spoken as the servant of democracy and a veteran operative, that Commander Brace did not purposefully change their target. Sung paused, wondering if he should further editorialize before indulging himself. It is admittedly a remarkable coincidence that Lady Elrith was hit by the High Water's cannon instead of the Council envoy. But we live in a world of chance and kismet. When such forces leave us with one more living soldier, I am not keen to complain. From the back of the room, her right arm still in its cast, Violet Viola let a smile cross her face. She had ridden towards death and met its goddess. Win or lose, helping her partner through a court-martial would be light work. It was what came after, the quiet nights, the dance floors, the deployments, that would take effort. But what they could be together, Violet thought, was the most work-worthy thing in the world. So, that is a longer intro. I think that's probably one of the longer intro stories I've ever read in a role-playing book. But really cool. I think definitely helped to set the story for Beam Saber. Definitely, if this sounded like an interesting thing, if you liked the illustrations that you saw, definitely give it a look. But now it's time to move on to there's 2 splat books included in this bundle for Beam Saber, so we're reading them today. Fear and Loving, a Beam Saber supply drop from Hellabyte Games. Credits and legal stuff. Fear and Loving is written and illustrated by Saturn, which can be found at Celestial Mecha on Twitter. That is a good username. This is a Hellabytes Games project, which can be located at hellabytes.net and hellabytes.itch.io. You can listen to me GM Beam Saber on the podcast Big Gay Nerds at soundcloud.com/Big Gay Nerds. That is also a very good name. Yeah, we'll go ahead and skip the rest of the legal stuff. Introduction. Fear and Loving contains 3 pilot playbooks. These are The Angel, a playful and rebellious fuck-up who opens up to the enemy. The Darlings, an energetic and unbreakable duo who leave a wake of destruction. The Witch, a cryptic and powerful messenger who draws on strange and terrible power. Zayden, thank you so much for the raid. What were you up to today? Infiltration raid. Uh-oh. Oh, some cyberpunk. Nice. I hope you had some great time with that. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Soroka the Magpie Treasure Hunting VTuber, and today we are reading through Fear and Loving, which is a supplemental book for Beam Saber, which we just read the intro story to. So thank you so much for tuning in. We are. Oh, I don't have it on this. Oh, I'm cringe. I forgot to put it up on this one. Oh, absolute cringe on my part. Sorry. We're doing this as part of as part of a charity drive to raise money for medical aid for Palestinians by reading through or playing all 256 items inside of the Games for Gaza bundle. And this is one of them that you can see right here. You can no longer purchase the bundle for yourself, but each game is still individually purchasable on itch.io. And definitely recommend, if you like any of them, please do go buy them. But yeah, now we're checking out Fear and Loving, which includes a bunch of pilot archetypes for Beam Saber. Which sounds pretty cool, actually. The pilot playbooks play with ideas of romance, tenderness, possibility, uncertainty, fear and loving, to wit. They are designed to explore the relationship between pilot and pilot, as well as the relationship between pilots and their vehicles, bonds that reify us, and in some cases, bonds that terrify us. Each is accompanied by a driving anxiety too: vulnerability, codependence, submission. Beam Saber playbooks are often defined more by their literal capabilities than specific character traits. A functional approach, but one sometimes lacking in flair. Conversely, playbooks based on a specific character arc can sometimes feel prescriptive and limited, like they're telling you what's going to happen before it happens. My intent with Fear and Loving is to land somewhere in between, providing the framework to make a character concept shine without actually telling you how to do it. But, sorry, I don't know that I ever asked you how Cyberpunk went. Were you, working on the new DLC? Or, were you making your way through the main story? Just driving around Night City? It was good? Nice. Glad to know that you had some time with it. I was playing the DLC. Nice. I would definitely like to play the DLC at some point. I think I'm almost done with it. Nice. Well, I hope you have a great, last little bit with it. So pilot playbooks, form fillable sheets, not gonna do that. If in doubt, the rules stretch as far as the fiction allows. If you're not sure if a special ability or playbook feature should allow this or that use case, ask, would it make sense for the story we portrayed through the game thus far? If so, it's probably cool. Some of the playbooks in Fear and Loving might intersect with the core rules in unusual ways. While I've put effort into making sure nothing contradicts the rules as written, it's entirely likely that you'll run into conflicts or points of uncertainty. You are encouraged to figure out what works for your table, and tell me about it afterwards if you want. That feeling when my internet my internet had an issue overnight, and my Alan Wake download is at 20%. Oh no! That is the worst. I hope that your Alan wakes the fuck up and finishes downloading quickly. Before you play, some of the playbooks in the supplement are built implicitly to tackle potentially uncomfortable themes. If you end up wanting to use one of these playbooks in your games, I'd encourage you to check its subheading in the table safety section at the end of the supplement. If I missed something in my own write-up that you think would be prudent to include, please let me know. Alan, wakey, it's time for school. Come on, man, wake up. Hello, Sheppy, good to see you, hope you're doing well. The Angel. The Angel. We'll all make it out of this alive if you have anything to say about it. War is hell is a played-out aphorism. Like, sure, the war is blood, and bullets, and explosions, and hunger, pox, ruin, rot, ravage, and the utterly inexorable encroach of death. But hell is an unescapable thing, with no place for joy, love, or any warmth that isn't the purgative fire. And that's not true. This horror shows of ours is not so absolute nor so forever as hell. Even if it's only me, with my ephemeral thrills and impossible dreams, I will prove that heaven is within our grasp. What joy compels you to fight? How do you defy your superior's expectations? Content warning: willfully self-destructive behavior, drugs. How's streams so far? Pretty good. We just finished reading the intro story to the RPG system Beam Saber, which was long but cool. And now we're reading one of the splat books for Beam Saber. It's good though. Choose the angel if you want to play with your rival and make it high stakes, make problems or make them worse by trying to fix them. Find out if love can bloom on the battlefield. Touchstones: Kaworu Nagisa from Neon Genesis Evangelion, Anemone from Eureka 7, Saturn from Heaven Will Be Mine. That is a game I need to play at some point. Mikazuki Agus, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Eva, Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss, specifically Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Mercy, Overwatch, Spike Spiegel, Cowboy Bebop. Gonna go into lurk mode while I make some food? No worries. Hope you enjoy your food. Playing the Angel. You might play the Angel as a flirty burnout, a charming stranger, a feisty brat, a good-hearted runt, or something else entirely. The playbook encourages you to open yourself to threats, fuck around and find out, and turn suffering into love. To quote Worst Girls as Heaven Will Be Mine. Also, did I mention your rival? This playbook encourages you to mess with your rival very aggressively. This sounds like a very fun character to play. EXP trigger. The Angel earns end of session XP when they address a challenge with compassion or vulnerability. Angel actions, +2 battle, +1 sway. Angel Specialist Pilot Gear. Light uniform. Load 0 if worn, load 1 if carried as a secondary outfit. An attention-getting getup that's easy to get in and get out of. Angel's Grace. Load 1, 2 uses. A dangerous cocktail of painkillers, palliatives, and stimulants. Use allows for the recipient to ignore mechanical penalties for harm, including death if recent. Damn! For a couple of minutes. When it wears off, they take the level 3 harm. Crash. Cupid one-shot vehicle grappler, load 2. An anti-vehicle harpoon launcher that causes momentary system disruption. Retracting the harpoon while it's connected will pull you toward it at an unsafe speed, which the instruction booklet warns against. I love the kind of rival who can kick my ass. I want us both to be crying by the end of it. Nope. Sorry. Angel Specialist Vehicle Gear, Cozy Cockpit, Load 0, as much as a home as anything else, which is to say, there's coffee machine and a personal computer, plus the pilot chair reclines. Recently played with User Lookup, a social app that remembers the encrypted comm ID of every vehicle you've crossed blades with, literally or figuratively. Yeah, like, once again, the Angel sounds incredible. Angel abilities. Absolute Terror. When creating the Angel, take this ability and no others. Whenever you feel your rival's connection clock, tick your drive clock. You always have improved effect when taking desperate actions against your rival. When you spend a drive clock to help someone else, take 1 XP. Love Bites. Permanently fill a stress box for each rival you currently have. Normally, 1. Whenever you suffer consequences from a rival move, you can immediately take a flashback affecting that rival for free. Beeps, thank you so much for the donation. Did you want me to read more Beam Saber, or did you want to just save that for later? To save it? Sure thing. I have written it down. Thank you so much for the donation. Really, really appreciate it. Foes with benefits. During a mission, if you unambiguously help your rival achieve one of their goals, take a free long-term project action during the next downtime phase. I have never betrayed anyone in my entire life. When you take action that would intentionally violate a rule of engagement or advance your rival's goal, you can push yourself for free. After a mission, if your squad loses trust with its employer overall, recover as much stress. Example, gather information. What do I have that they need? What would they do to get X? Who's the most dangerous here? Where am I most vulnerable? Where are they most vulnerable? How can I push their buttons? Example, starting Angel beliefs. They could do to be a little less buttoned up. Maybe I can help? They think they are so cool, and the worst part is, they are so cool. They've got a tough shell, but I bet they're soft inside. They don't really get me, but hey, it's mutual. Example angel allies and rivals. Cassini, a feisty delinquent. Heliopause, a kind-hearted revolutionary. Anderson Council, an aloof veteran. Perigee, a world-weary mentor. Example angel builds. Aw. The Darlings. It takes two to tango, and baby, the war is our dance floor. Nuclear fusion, the hydrogen wedding. A calamitous rupture of such enormity you need to set off a fission reaction first, just like the wick. Fusion, fission, coming together, coming apart. The war threatened to separate us, to break us, to boil us down into something incandescent and insubstantial. While others melt in its blood-soaked gunsmoke, we are forged ever stronger. We will fight fire with fire, and we will still be burning bright when everything else has turned to ash. How did you come together? Is your relationship platonic, romantic, or something else? Is your relationship symmetrical? Content warnings. Open-ended / non-exclusive relationships. Tracking devices. Okay, was not expecting that second content warning. I still have an hour saved if I'm not mistaken. I thought you used it on Morn, but maybe you do have an hour. Save. I'm just gonna say you have an hour saved. Choose the Darlings if you want to. Play 2 or more entwined characters, draw strength from your relationship, destroy anything that would come between you. Touchstones 016 and 002 in for Darling and the Franks. Relay and Mako, Pacific Rim. Renton and Urika, Urika 7. Episode 9 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Project C. 100-Foot Robot Golf. Amethyst 84 and Amethyst 33, Land of the Lustrous. Denji and Power, Chainsaw Man. An hour on Morn and a half hour on a game you and Fizz played. You did use it on Morn. Okay. So did you use it or not? I'm confused, sorry. Playing the Darlings. You might play the Darlings as star-crossed lovers or the very best friends, a single consciousness shared between multiple bodies, eerie twins or identical clones, perfectly synchronized total opposites, or something else entirely. The playbook encourages you to stretch the limits of your bond, to open your love to others, and to find strength in completion. Sorry, I used 2.5 hours on 2 games. Okay. EXP trigger. The Darlings earn end of session XP when they address a challenge with coordination or mayhem. Paired style, load 0. A detail, accessory, article of clothing or outfit that makes it clear that your Darlings are some number of peas in a pod. Magnet local positioning system, load 1. Paired collars that can track each other's positions. They have an effective range of a few miles, become less accurate over distance, and are susceptible to interference. None of those collars are going on dog. Tandem cockpit. The vehicle's main control system, requiring at least 2 pilots to operate. There's not much room for anything but the pilots. A devastating energy weapon, load 2. A climatically destructive chromatic beam weapon without equal. Requires multiple pilots to operate. There's a charge up before firing and a long refractory period afterwards. It's hard to use against fast-moving targets. Prosthetic operator plug, load 1. The prop plug allows a Darling to control their vehicle without their counterpart. This control is less effective and prolonged use is dangerous. Darling abilities. When creating the Darlings, take this ability and one other, Twain. You are a pair of pilots sharing a custom vehicle designed for tandem operation. You both count as the same character for any mechanics that would target one, consequence, cutting loose, and so on. Your Darlings take -1 D to rolls when acting independently of other. Polycule. You picked up another Darling. Add their name, call sign, look, and so on to your sheet. When all of your Darlings are together, you're a small gang. Hell yeah. Multi-Drac drift compatibility. Your Darlings are always aware of what the other is thinking, feeling, or sensing. When you spend stress to assess a teammate, you can temporarily extend a spawn to them. Legendary Defenders. Your custom vehicle is capable of splitting into some number of autonomous parts. Your vehicle load limit is split approximately evenly between the pieces. This allows your darlings to act independently with vehicle actions. Dirty Pair. Take +1d to destroy and wreck when your darlings are together. After a mission, if you would lose trust from your employer for causing unwarranted collateral damage, you can spend stress one-on-one to negate it. Hell yeah. How can we make them X? What's the best way to break through? What is fragile? Example starting darling beliefs. They want to do everything themselves, not if we have a say. Us and them together would make an unstoppable team. They wouldn't know a good time if it flipped their vehicle over. They're jealous of what we have. Example darlings, allies, and rivals. Rotterdam, a gallant captain. Victoire, an overworked officer. Jaguar, a wily scientist. Abe, a seedy politician. Kind of weird. Like, I guess maybe you're supposed to combine them or something, but kind of weird that there's not, like, 2 names listed there for each example. But, whatever. It's time for The Witch, which looks cool as hell. You hold a burning light in your hands, and it casts a long, cold shadow. The most basic existential state is parasitism, sometimes mutual, mostly asymmetric. Our purpose in the war is to serve our masters and champion their interests. If we are good soldiers, they will protect us in kind. Perhaps your master is the crown, or the council, or the cartel, or the clergy. Perhaps you submit to the will of mindless subsistence, claiming no master but your own need to survive. Either way, all of us wear leashes. I can touch what is holding mine. Can you? How'd you become the vehicle's pilot? Does it speak to you? Why do you serve it? Content warnings. Abuse from / exploitation by an authority figure. Non-reciprocal violence. Choose the witch if you want to. Attain great power at a grave cost. Play with the more mysterious aspects of the setting, or bring magic to a world without it, or something alien to a world without it. Touchstones. The witch in Glass and Perennial, Friends of the Table Partisan. The Guardian, the Ghost and the Traveler, Destiny, Emmet Selk and Zodiark, at Final Fantasy XIV. Warlocks, Dungeons and Dragons, May and the Entity, lies beneath. Yeah, okay, sure. I'll accept that Emmet Selk and Zodiark. Playing the Witch. You may play the Witch as a grim oracle or a wizened wizard. Perhaps someone cursed and confused, or simply reckless and inquisitive. You might be a priest or an avatar or chosen, or simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Either way, you wield powers not entirely within the realm of your understanding, at the behest of an entity that is still even further beyond. EXP trigger. The Witch earns end-of-session EXP when they fulfill the vehicle's will or addresses a challenge with transgression. Family AR. Load 0. An entity that serves as your connection to the vehicle when you're apart from it. Has some simple programs. May or may not be sapient. Repository Folk. Orc, Load 2. A staff imbued with specialized programs and data stores for attacking, repelling, or capturing AR entities, sturdy enough to be used as a polearm. A Fine Ritual Blade. An unusual knife of dubious significance. Its wickedly sharp cutting edge is also an AR interface that can collect or inject data. Distinctive ornamentation. Load 0. A big hat, mysterious orb, supernatural physical feature, or surreal aura that identifies you unmistakably as the Witch. Big fan of it, like, being like, yeah, you can have, like, a big hat, and then also you have a staff and a knife that can capture computer programs. Oh, cool. Fine anti-infantry defenses. An indiscriminate near-proximity emission weapon, like myriad needles or hard light dust or anathema radiation. Ruins flesh and lights objects with horrific ease. Yeah, that sounds like the kind of thing a witch would have. Transverse passenger space, Load 1. The vehicle has an interior space capable of supporting several passengers, as well as an isolated AR environment. The two functions may or may not be distinct. Cause-effect denial armor, Load 3. It just works. Inexplicable defenses that utterly nullify an instance of incoming damage. Refreshes between missions, but only if you completed your Covenant objective. Haunting Presence, Load 0. The vehicle is majestic, frightening, and unforgettable. Its appearance and aura unnerve effortlessly. Witch abilities, Covenant. When creating the Witch, take this ability and no others. The vehicle imbues you with strange power, at a cost. Once per mission, at any point, the GM privately gives you an additional objective. If you fulfill it, after the mission, the vehicle fills its repair clock and ticks enhancement once. If you fail, take the level 3 harm Useless, which can be resisted as normal. If the vehicle is ever destroyed or retired, you are too. Uh-oh. Magic Missile. You can produce energy as a pilot-scale weapon. Spend at least 1 stress to do so, and then 1 for 1 for additional features. It travels far and fast, it explodes on impact, it homes to its target, it disrupts technology, it's less than lethal. You can exclude something specifically or categorically from its effect. Necronomicon. Take plus 1d to gather information on AR entities or AR anomalies. When you complete the vehicle's objective, you can choose for it to give you a primordial code for app development instead of the usual reward. Example information. What's really going on here? How close does danger lurk? Who is holding their leash? What here hides secrets? What would the vehicle have me do? Example starting witch beliefs. They stand to benefit from my favor, which must be why they seek it. They were built from the ground up to be a nuisance to me specifically. They are dependent and resilient, perhaps a good assistant. The vehicle does not trust them, nor do I. Example witch builds. Blood Drinker, plus 1 Sturdy, plus 1 Survey, plus 2 Consort. Sorcerer, Magic Missile, plus 2 Finesse, plus 2 Wreck. Yeah, okay, we'll read this last bit. That'll be the end of the thing. Table safety. Beam Saber has its own table safety principles. Some of these are system-agnostic practices, like lines and veils. Fear and Loving's table safety is not a replacement for these. Rather, this is additive information, an overview of some of the components of the playbooks in this supplement that might need special attention when thinking about your table's tone. The Angel. The Angel is best described as a good-hearted, sexy disaster. The middle word is optional. As some of its touchstones go, the Angel's inherent tenderness is often accompanied by sensuality, a gentle and loving touch as opposed to cold and distant violence. Some angels excel at being delicate, while others struggle. Regardless, if you intend to play an angel who's touchy-feely in the suggestive sense, make sure it gels with the tone at your table. Good-hearted, sexy disaster. Yeah. The Angel is also a self-destructive playbook, and self-destructive behaviors can have consequences for the rest of your squad too. Many of the playbook's touchstones are sad, broken people who plaster over their sorrows with stoic determination or devil-may-care flash. I'd advise going too deep down this rabbit hole. The Angel doesn't have to be an optimist per se, but they also wouldn't have their way if they didn't have some zest for living. The I have never betrayed anyone in my entire life special ability benefits you when you're deliberately breaking the rules of engagement. It's worth noting, however, the Angel is meant to address problems with compassion and their own vulnerability. Though your table's tone or boundaries may differ, the ability is not written to encourage deliberately endangering or hurting civilians. The Angel's Grace pilot gear is designed to help push someone through their problems without addressing them. Its given flavor harkens to the use of highly addictive and potentially lethal medicines to help soldiers soldier on, as it were. However, the invocation of drugs may not be welcome at your table. Don't hesitate to replace Angel's Grace with something more technological, magical, or anything else if you feel the need. The important principle is that whatever Angel's Grace is, it's a temporary reprieve from problems yet unsolved, and if anything, complicated by its use. Good-hearted, sexy disaster. How to describe over half of all B2ers. Not untrue. The fine, unusual weapon, pilot gear, is intended to help you employ or retaliate to violence without escalating it. Though examples are all weaponized physical restraints. However, an important thing to understand is that there is no such thing as a non-lethal weapon, only an infrequently lethal one. Though you can count on your fine, unusual weapon to subdue your rival, this isn't a stealth or superhero video game where you can wallop someone on the head with a blunt object and move on, resting assured that you didn't inflict lethal violence. It is not a tool like regular handcuffs might be. It's a weapon. You can cause injury and death if you misuse it. That's actually a really cool note, because that's definitely something that is very, very frequently not addressed. There's a reason there's a reason that they're called less lethal weapons, not non-lethal weapons. because you can absolutely still kill people. So it's good that they mentioned that. The Darlings. The Darlings are intended not to be just the 2 or 3 pilots you control, but their relationship too. Harm and scars implicitly reflect across each of you, whether you're together or not. How that looks and how that works may potentially step into some dark waters. The Darlings' bond might be unbreakable, but that doesn't mean that coldness, mistrust, and abuse can't creep in. To whatever extent your group discusses lines and veils, it's probably a good idea to solicit your table to include any relationship anxieties or dysfunctions that would sour the experience. Either way, you might want to broadcast any shifts you have planned before committing to them, so other players have a chance to speak up if you're entering territory they're not comfortable with. The multi-track drift compatibility special ability is an implicitly psychic connection, though depending on the fiction, might not be. Temporary extending the bond to a teammate can step into potentially uncomfortable territory, depending on how this temporary mind link behaves. What sort of information is exchanged, and how? Much like the empath from Bream Saber's core rulebook, you are expected to be thoughtful about how you broach compromising the privacy of another character's mind. Depending on your table, you might want to avoid this ability completely. The Magnet local positioning system pilot gear is there to make it easier for your Darlings to find each other when separated. However, it is a physical, personal tracking device. Bluntly, it is not especially uncommon to uncover people who have had traumatic experiences relating to a loved one tracking them through GPS. Brushing against this anxiety is intentional, but you should be very mindful of how you depict this gear in your game. The prosthetic operator plug vehicle gear is a temporary way of allowing one Darling to pilot their vehicle without the others. It raises important questions, though. For one, how does it actually replace a Darling's piloting functions? On the other hand, why is it dangerous to use for a prolonged time? The Pro-Op plug's primary inspiration is the dummy system from Neon Genesis Evangelion, as well as the Rage system from the core rulebook's Ace playbook. However, in a vehicle that needs multiple pilots, who are ostensibly compatible in some nebulous way, the answer to this question this gear raises are potentially unsettling. The Witch. The Witch isn't an inherently dark playbook, but it does play in some spaces well suited for darkness. The relationship between pilot and vehicle is very different than it is for a lot of other pilots. The vehicle is not an extension of your will so much as you are an extension of its. The vehicle imbues you with strange power and makes demands of you in exchange, and if you fail to live up to its wants, its scorn is heavy and sharp. It holds your leash, after all. Be sure to talk with your GM about what the relationship between you and the witch and between your witch and the vehicle is like. That relationship might be inflicted on you as part of consequence or drama, so it's a good idea to set expectations and boundaries ahead of time. I'd also advise you to be mindful of some of the more religious connotations of this playbook. Many of its touchstones involve being the servant of a deific force, very often a literal god, but sometimes a near-deific being, like a powerful demon or demiurge or ancient entity from beyond our star. Your relationship with the vehicle doesn't necessarily have to be a religious one. In fact, most of its text is written assuming your relationship is primarily transactional. It can be religious, though if it is, you are expected to depict that religion with the sincerity, honesty, and respect the setting demands. The Blood Drinker special ability is, without question, the most sinister thing in this entire document. Its purpose and drawback should be obvious without my saying so. 2 important things. First, its name is not necessarily literal. Harm is not necessarily physical in Beam Saber, so defining what trading away harm looks like is on you. Second, your subject can be willing or helpless, because the important part is that they don't fight back, whether it's because they can't fight back or because they've chosen not to. However, even if you never use Blood Drinker without negotiating consent first, the nature of the move ensures that even the most considerate application of it will always be unsafe and self-serving. You should expect that the lines and veils or general tonal expectations of a allotted table will render this option completely unselectable. Which, I never did read this one. Blood Drinker. In downtime, or when you've had time to rest, you can erase your own harm by inflicting equivalent harm on someone either willing or helpless. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, that is, yeah, I can definitely see why be very fucking careful when you're using that one. Oh, that was Fear and Loving, which is, pretty cool. Definitely some very fun sounding, pilot archetypes. But let's move on to our final thing for the night, the Lifeline. But before I do that, I gotta drink some water again. Appreciate this game's discussing player comfort as priority. Same. It's very nice for them to make that like very clear at the outset. Because For a group of nerds, it can be very, very difficult to discuss things that they find problematic or that make them uncomfortable. So definitely having a thing like being like, hey, you need to discuss this and you need to like talk about it definitely helps make it like much more obvious that like, hey, you gotta make sure that you can't just assume that things are okay. You have to like discuss this, which is nice. Anyway, The Lifeline, a pilot playbook for Beam Saber by Thursday Gatto. Lifelines are daring and selfless saviors. The war is a hungry thing, people and machines and cities caught in its jaws and torn to pieces. It's easy to break, to ruin, to kill. Anyone with a trigger finger and a few tons of military-grade steel could do that. That's where you come in, to lift the rubble, to brave the flames, to carry the shattered bodies of human fucking beings out of hell and bring them back for another shot at life. Or a fresh deployment back into this meat grinder. You're a goddamn hero, and it's gonna get you killed. The question is how many souls you save before the war eats you. Play the Lifeline if you want to participate in high-stakes action without shooting at people. If you want to feel like the closest thing to a good guy the war has. If you want to get hurt so that others don't. If you want to climb stuff and smash things, especially in incredibly dangerous conditions. Touchstones. Real-world search and rescue efforts. Firefighters, rescue swimmers, forest rangers, smoke jumpers, avalanche rescue, and the like. Smoke jumper, that is a cool as hell sounding name. Galothimos Promare and Fi Carmichael from Planets. Ask yourself these questions. Why do you care so much? Why don't you carry a gun? Who couldn't you save? Starting actions. +1 survey, +1 prowl, +1 destroy. Lifeline advancement trigger. Mark XP when you address a challenge through self-sacrifice or non-violence. Imbo boy. Love him. Pilot gear. Lifeline uniform. 0 load. A high visibility outfit that marks you as an emergency responder and non-combatant to the people who care. Makes stealth very hard. Fine climbing tools. 1 load. Incredibly tough rope plus everything you need to make it extra useful. Sanctuary suit. 1 load. Acts as an environmental suit, but clever construction makes it lighter than military issue gear. Fine wrecking tools. 2 load. Fire axe, pry bar, jaws of life. Sometimes saving people means making as straight a line to them as possible. Extinguisher. 1 load. Puts out fires. Will explode if someone shoots it. Obviously. Field medkit. 1 to 2 load. When administered, allows the patient to treat the effects of 1 harm as a level lower than for the rest of the mission. Level 4 harm is still fatal. Each load is 1 dose. Your custom vehicle. Talking about the entity vehicle in your plan. Okay, so same as everyone else. Vehicle gear. Rescue style. 0 load. Bright, high visibility paint job, marking you as an emergency responder and as a non-combatant. Abusing the latter is a great way to get yourself court-martialed. Yeah. Industrial excavator. 2 load. A massive scoop arm, blunt digging claws, a sturdy grapple crane. Whatever it is, it helps move or destroy stuff, heavy stuff. Can be used as a weapon in a pinch, but it's real unwieldy. Lifeline searchlights, 0 load. Provide brilliant illumination and make you a gigantic target. Sanctuary bay, 1 to 2 load. Space for injured passengers, well protected and sealed with basic medic equipment. 1 load is enough for a handful of 2 people, 2 load fits a small group. Several rescue tool sets, 1 load. A variety of wrecking tools, extinguishers as above, flares, and sanctuary suits as above that a pilot can swap to up to 3 of their declared load for in the field. Thermal scanner, 1 load. Designed to spot warm bodies on the battlefield, even beneath debris and rubble. Water hose / bucket, 2 load. An ample supply of water and some means to deliver it for use in fighting fires. Pilot abilities. A friend upstairs. You may spend your spark to resist consequences of collateral damage or to push yourself while working directly to save a life. Better me than you. When you protect someone, you cover stress equal to the level of harm you suffer. Fading light. When you fill your final stress box or suffer level 4 harm, you may immediately make 1 action with improved effect before being removed from the scene. You also get improved effect on dire actions. Damn, okay, so like, if you die, you get 1 final, like, save someone thing. Cool. Hostile environment training. You never suffer worsened position from adverse weather, snow, rain, high winds, sandstorm, etc. St. Bernard. You have a trained rescue animal or helper drone to aid in your work. Represent them as a specialist cohort. Expertise, search, and rescue. Capable of following simple instructions. Choose one of the following benefits for them. Can slowly carry an adult human. Can carry and use 1 load of pilot gear. Is especially soothing to be around. You can take this ability multiple times to choose an additional benefit each time. Sledgehammer. Get improved effect whenever trying to smash a path through or free someone physically trapped. You act with potency when wielding wrecking tools. Steady hands, steady voice. When you speak to calm or reassure, frighten, and hurt people, gain improved effect. You can finesse to stabilize a dying character long enough to get them out. Right now. Hurry. Unflagging. At the start of downtime, you may take a recover action for free. Take +1 effect to the result. Veteran. Pick a move from another playbook. You may take this move up to 3 times. Gather information examples. Who here needs my help? Who needs it first? Who here wouldn't fire on non-combatants? Who would? What would calm them down? What bad thing is about to happen? Example starting beliefs. They want to help. They want to help people just like I do. They're gonna get themselves killed unless I can stop it. They genuinely love fighting this stupid war. They don't care if they survive this. Example allies and rivals. Bloom, a kindly widow. 13, a retired Lifeline. Old Stitch, a gruff surgeon. Auburn, a chain-smoking survivor. This is neat. This would be... I feel like this would be... Like, without knowing too much about how the system works, playing someone who, like, specifically doesn't... is, like, specifically there to, like, save people in what seems to be, like, mostly a game about killing people would be difficult. But you could certainly make it work, although I feel like you'd have to really justify the missions that you're going on, because like some of it where it's like, yeah, there's like no civilians here, like you're not needed or something, or being like the team medic or something, but then like you're not doing much else except maybe like blocking bullets. It's neat though. Beam Saber definitely seems like a cool system, but we're just not going to have enough time to get into it right now because I mean it's a big system. It does seem kind of cool though. Maybe something to look more of in the future. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let's go ahead and quickly talk about what we're doing for this charity before we pass it off to somebody else. So, just a reminder of what we're doing this month. We are looking at all 256 items in the Games for Gaza bundle in support of medical aid for Palestinians. You can... you can still donate at the pinned link or right here. And the way we're doing this is that every $5 extends the playtime of our current game by 30 minutes up to a maximum of 2 hours per game. Yeah, and we're slowly making our way through. I think at this point, what did I say we were at last? 45 minus 7 is... So we've done 38 games before today. So that means we've done 44. So we're rapidly approaching 50 games, which is pretty cool, because that means we're about like a fifth of the way there. Which is cool, but also, wow, a fifth of the way there. Haha. Oh boy. This is gonna take a while. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. I will see you back here tomorrow. Will it be a group one or a solo one? I'm not 100% sure. I gotta see what people are around and who's able to show up and do some stuff. But for now, thank you all so much for tuning in. Let's go ahead and see who we can send you off to. Let's go ahead and send you off to Physicist, who is celebrating reading donation goals to pay his bills by doing a spooky week and starting with the week off with a sort of spooky game, Ghostbusters. So that should be a lot of fun. Hope you're having a lot of fun with that. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you back here tomorrow for more bundle games. Have a great night, and see you later. Bye-bye.